Armstrong Stadium in Bloomington, Indiana for the 65th running of the men's Little 500. I'm Stephen Gomez, joined by three-time winning coach Ryan Knapp. Ryan, it's tough to beat Bloomington in springtime. How are you doing?
Absolutely. It's a day late, but very happy to be here. Sunny skies. The rain all passed through last night, and looking forward to a beautiful day of bike racing.
It's a beautiful day today. However, this is the first time the race has been run not on a Saturday since the 1970s. So the race was delayed because of poor weather. Ryan, do you think that is going to factor into the riders' mental attitude towards the race?
I think yesterday there definitely the riders had an extra day of nothing going on, and so that's unfortunately your mind wanders a lot, and you would ideally like to have something to take that place. And so with that extra day to do nothing, I definitely mentally it's a factor, but physically if you're fit for Saturday, you're fit for Sunday, you'll be fine. But definitely some considerations to be made regarding the weather for sure.
Absolutely, and like you mentioned, it's sunny right now. It's the Little 500. Nothing is better. As always, it is a competitive race. All it takes is one rubbing of the wheel, crashing out, and your race is over, and that's a whole year gone. Who knows who's going to win this Little 500? It's an exciting day, and we're proud to present this at Bill Armstrong Stadium. Also joining our broadcasting crew today is a producer of One Day in April and a former Delta Gamma rider, Kirsten Powell.
Thanks, Stephen. I'm down here in the pit with the Cutters coach, Jason Fowler. Jason, how do you feel about the move being from Saturday to Sunday? What does that do for your boys' mentality?
We were ready to race in the rain. We like racing in the rain. This weather makes it much more enjoyable for the spectators. So standing out here are going to be a little bit warmer, but the guys were ready regardless of yesterday or today. So we're looking forward to it.
Now, what can we expect from the race this year? What are your predictions?
I see it a lot like last year, kind of a slower race to begin with. A lot of teams looking at each other, marking each other, with no one real dominant team to split up the race. So yeah, I see the last 50 laps being pretty exciting.
Great. So you're expecting a sprint finish?
We would like a sprint finish. We would like to see a sprint finish for sure. But the guys are ready for whatever happens towards the end. Obviously, there's going to be some attacks by Black Key Bulls and some of the other teams, but we're ready to follow, and if it comes down to a sprint, we're very confident.
Awesome. Best of luck to your boys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Please join the Indiana University Student Foundation in welcoming the Reverend Father Jude McPeak from the St. Paul Student Catholic Center for today's invocation.
Gracious God, before we ask for our needs, we take stock of what we have. Before anything we may pray for, we give thanks that we can ride, that the day is ours to ride, that our family, friends, and neighbors can join us. And so with anticipation, adrenaline, and joy, we pray that you bless this race. Allow these bikers not to rage against each other, but to strive with each other. Let these racers not get injured, but allow them to push themselves to their limit. Banish every fear and every doubt from their hearts. Allow us to see that the true glory of this race is not in who wins or loses, but in the satisfaction of competing well. That the glory of God is manifested when we live life to its fullness. That every drop of sweat, every breath of air, every heartbeat, every push of the pedal brings us closer to our goal. Now let us ride. Amen.
Presenting your colors today, the Pershing Rifles Color Guard from Indiana University's Army ROTC program. Indiana University's Pershing Rifles is a competitive drill and honor squad which consistently receives high marks in competition around our great nation. Ladies and gentlemen, we introduce to you two-time Grammy Award winner Sylvia McNair a member of the Indiana University Jacobs School of Music. Sylvia is a vocal performer from Mansfield, Ohio, and an Indiana University alumna. Please remove your caps and remain standing as we honor America, ladies and gentlemen, with the presentation of our national anthem by Sylvia McNair.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Sylvia McNair. As the starting riders have now reached the start-finish line and we get ready for racing, another in our great traditions, we present Indiana University's a cappella men's group, Another Round, with Back Home Again in Indiana.
Do 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 Back home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see the gleaming candlelight still shining bright through the sycamores for me. The new moon hastens all its fragrance from the fields I used to roam. When I dream about the moonlight on the Wabash, how I long for my Indiana home. Back home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see the gleaming candlelight still shining bright through the sycamores for me. The new moon sends all its fragrance from the fields I used to roam. When I dream about the Wabash, then I long for my Indiana home.
We welcome to the stage, ladies and gentlemen, Michael Yoslin, who is also acting as today's honorary race starter.
Riders, you've accepted the great challenge today and have made the serious commitment to compete as hard as you possibly can, devoting your mind and your bodies to this challenge. In doing so, while I cannot say if you'll win this little 500 bike race today, I can tell you you are already winning the human race in the game of life. You and your teammates have now formed a true family, working together to meet the challenge and succeed. Another important life lesson: ride as one, ride hard, and ride true. And so now, forget all about the Batmobile, and instead, gentlemen, mount your little 500 bicycles.
So let's take a closer look at this starting grid. We have Wright Cycling, who's going to lead it out for the first time in history, as I mentioned earlier. Now, what I'm very interested with, and I'm a little concerned for, is Beta Theta Pi. Today they start in the 17th position. They are locked in right in the middle of the field at a pretty dangerous place. That is great insight. The riders are rolling. We're going to have 3 pace laps. You're seeing there's a pace car out in front. They're in 11 rows of 3. You are not allowed to advance your position until the green flag drops after the 3rd pace lap. Oh, I can't. What are these riders feeling right now? The nerves, the excitement. They've been waiting a year for this, and the race is finally about to start.
Yeah, lots of nerves, I would say. In general, I feel like these riders, they're all really prepared, but that doesn't mean they're immune to the nervousness that is always going to be there in time you're doing something in front of 17,000 people.
Absolutely. So to go through the grid, we sing Back Home Again, Indiana, or excuse me, the college theme song. We have Wright Cycling on the front. Next to them in the middle, Sigma Phi Epsilon. Rounding out the first row, we have Evan Scholar, a great qualification for them. The Cutters on the inside of the second row, followed by Pi Kappa Alpha. The defending champions, ridden by Spencer Brockla on the outside for Black Key Bulls. On starting 7th is Lambda Chi Alpha, Phi Delta Theta in the pink jersey. In 8th place, rounding out that 3rd row, is SAE, a big dark horse today. Delta Tau Delta in the same jerseys they won in 2012 are starting in the 10th position. Forest, who gets stronger and stronger each year, are in 11th. 3PH Cycling, a new team, rounds out that 4th row. In 13th position, Kappa Sigma. In the 14th, Sigma Nu. Sigma Nu is also a dark horse. Last year, they finished 21st place. They have a motto this year. It's drop the 2. They want that 1st place. Next to Sigma Nu, we have Delta Chi, which is the 2nd most winning team in Little 500 history with, I believe, 7 wins. Next, in the next row, we have CSF and Beta Theta Pi in 17th. Ryan, they're starting to increase their pace. They're in the drops. The excitement. We're almost underway.
Yeah, absolutely. There's, as the pace laps tick on, you slowly ratchet it up, and as that pace car starts to gap you and pull off, I think that nervousness we discussed builds, and that's why your front row qual positions are nice, because you have great communication. You're talking with the other riders in your row, and it's nice and safe. But further back, you're going to see some bunching up, a little maybe bumping here or there as the nervousness, everybody wants to get out. So here we go, they're winding it up.
Evan Zare of Wright Cycling leading the way. And here we go, the green flag drops, and the 65th running of the men's Little 500 is underway. Evan Zare from Wright Cycling is drilling it. Sig Ebb slots in, Black Key Bulls on the outside. He's trying to get around Evan Scholars. It's strung out. These boys are moving.
You'll see Beta has already made the move to the outside. We've only gone just out of turn 2, and we've got Beta moving up fast on the outside.
Kyle Knight is charging. Spencer Brockla moved in comfortably. Right Cycling pulls off. Nick Torrance of Sigma Phi Epsilon keeps the pace high. These boys are turning it over right now.
Yeah, absolutely. This is an ideal situation. You like when the race starts, with a couple hot laps, because that keeps it safe. That keeps the teams that maybe can't hold that hot lap pace, that keeps them pinned at the back, and it keeps the contenders, the quality, the top of the field, it keeps them at the front where it's safe, where you have trustworthy riders around you.
Absolutely. Brian DePass of the Cutters is on the front right now. You'll see the first 6 riders are basically single file, but in the pack, it's more bunched up. There's a high likelihood of a wreck. Oh, someone's down in the backstretch already. Green flag, and we're still racing. We're still racing. That's Lambda Chi Alpha taking the front. Brian DePass of the Cutters slides right in.
But you'll see just in that little pause there, the field went from single file for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows, and then it mushroomed out and got 4 wide, and that's when it gets dangerous. So as that pace lulls, that's when you start to see these wrecks.
Look at Ryan Romanesco of Phi Delta Theta. He's having none of it. He doesn't want to get stuck in the back. Phi Delta Theta, they ride on the front. Look at this guy. He's turning it over. They're not messing around today. They finished second, third, second in the past 4 years. They want to win this race. Ryan Romanesco is not messing around. He does a big pull, pulls off, and he looks over and says, your turn. It's your turn to pull through.
Yep, Nick Torrance pulling through here once again, just keeping the pace high.
Spencer Brockla on the outside. He's done with it too. Spencer has a lot of endurance, and Black Key Bowls wants to ride at the front. I think, on the front right now, we have the 2 men in the field who have won this race before. Spencer Brockla of Black Key Bowls and Luke Momper of Delta Tau Delta. These guys have been here. They've hosted the Borg Warner Trophy. They know what it's like, and that's evident. They're riding on the front right now. They don't want to get caught up in a wreck.
Here we go. You also, again, see Beta. They understand the importance of being positioned at the front of the bike race. They drifted back for a second and then made another big effort to get back in that front cluster of riders.
Oh, we have a wreck, and we have a wreck. There's 5 riders down. Everyone's up. Do they throw the yellow out? There's no yellow flag. They will only throw the yellow flag out unless riders are on the track and someone is in danger. Ryan, why don't you take him through what the yellow flag means?
Well, the yellow flag is basically just hold your position, slow up, hang out, give everyone a chance to get up off the track. We even had a little rubber wheels here right on the start-finish stretch. That's the nervousness of the race coming through. Brian DePass of Cutters, he was just minding his own business, and we had another rider basically run into his back wheel and almost crash on the start-finish stretch. So that is a classic early race situation where it's just nerves come through, and lucky for Brian in this situation, nothing happened there, but definitely something to watch out for.
Do you think it had anything to do with his beard?
Absolutely. If I were near Brian DePass's beard, I would also be a little shaky. That seems like that's been growing for years.
Months. Yeah, I asked him about his beard the other day, and he didn't respond. He just kind of grunted.
As you would expect from a mountain man beard like that.
So, something really interesting happening right now. Typically, historically, Delta Tau Delta, they do not spend a lot of time at the front. They are coached by Courtney Bishop, and he usually employs a strategy of, hey, I want to be in the back. Why? I'm not going to do any work. I'm going to make you do the work, and I'm going to roll all my dice and throw all the marbles out late in the race. So we're seeing Delta Tau Delta, Luke Momper on the front quite a bit.
Yeah, I am actually a fan of that tactic. I like that because, in my opinion, I think you need to bide your time and wait for an opportunity. And traditionally, Delts has ridden very solid bike races, and so that strategy of only going and sticking your neck out there when it matters for you, I support that for sure.
As you would expect, the teams who we talked about, the teams who are the favorite, they're on the front, they're pushing the pace, they're making sure they are safe right now. Cutters have spent a lot of time at the front, and like I said, the teams you would expect to be at the front are at the front. Kyle Knight makes a big move to the front right now. I expect the pack to be strung out. He's a 220 ITTer. He's got the legs to make a big move. He can stay in the front. He can do a lot of work, and he can still get great burns and bring in the bike with separation when it's time to exchange.
Yeah, this is a pretty classic first little 500 set, I would say, first set of the race. But the group has already, lost a lot of riders. I don't know, it's maybe 2/3 the size. 3/4, something like that. But definitely a lot of riders have already been taken off by crashes, rubbed wheels, etc. So this is what you like to see if you're a contender. Less to deal with, less riders, around you. So it just simplifies things. We have Romo from Fidel. He's kind of drifted back a little bit. He's
I don't like where he's at.
Very strong rider, but and I think he knows better, so I'd imagine he'll be moving up any minute, but it doesn't take much time of hanging out there in the back where it's 3 or 4 wide and you can get caught behind a rack and your day's over. So I would expect to see Romanesco moving up a little bit here.
I agree. Another team that's starting off really good is Andy Krahulik from SAE in that purple jersey. He does a big pull, he pulls off, and it looks like no one really wants to pull through. The pace is kind of slowing a little bit. How long? Okay, so we're 10 laps into the race, and through 10 laps, Delta is leading. How long are these riders going to stay on the bike until they come in for an exchange?
Well, it just kind of depends. It's going to, if you're a deep team that you have 4 riders that you can trust, you might not do the longest first set. You might come out after 8 to 10 to 12 laps. But if you're a team that is really relying heavily on your guy who's starting the race, you might ask him to do a 20, 30, even 40 lap first set just to get you through.
Ryan, I don't know about those Black Key Bowls helmets. Looks like Toad from Mario Kart.
Yeah, I agree. They're easily distinguishable, but I don't know who their style consultant is, but that's questionable.
Yeah, as a alum of Black Key Bowls, I'm not a big fan of that. Spencer Brockla, he's out of the saddle and he's turning it over.
Beta.
Cutters is having none of it. Cutters is right on his wheel. A gap. Spencer opens up a gap on Brian
Actually,
DePass.
Spencer, I don't know if you saw that. Looks like the track might be a little slippery there. Spencer's rear wheel was slipping out.
So here we come to an exchange. Spencer Brockla to Charlie Hammond. Cutters marked them. Here we go. And he gets it. Clean exchange. Gets on the bike. Right at the front of the pack. That's a great burn.
Yeah, that's the ideal situation. You get nice separation. You make it easy on your new rider to just kind of slot right in at the front of the bike race. It's low stress, and like I said, ideal situation for your new rider.
Here we go. The fireworks are happening. Other teams want to get off the bike. That looks like Lam Dekai getting some really good separation. They're bringing it in for an exchange. Their other rider has a bike ready. They're going to do a bike-to-bike exchange. That's a great burn by Lam Dekai.
Sigma Nu followed that burn nicely. Pretty good gap here. Looks like he's going to roll with it. That's not too bad. That's impressive.
That's a half straightaway. That's Jeremy Crawford of Sigma Nu. Almost a wreck there. But yeah, the pack seems content to let those go. Very interesting.
Yeah, to some degree, if you're kind of one of those teams that's under the radar, that's one of the luxuries of flying under the radar is maybe the field doesn't react so swiftly to your burnouts. It looks like we've got
Look at Ryan Romanesco.
Romo coming from the back. He kind of hung out at the back there.
Look at that spin.
Recovered a little bit and then blasted off the front. This is a very solid burn. Nice gap.
He's bringing it to Rob Lee. It's a fast exchange.
Rob Lee's legs look pretty nice, pretty shiny. That looks good.
He's got the eye shades. He's got the white eye shades. I'm telling you, people are scared of Rob Lee. There's whispers in the field. People fear him. His long hair, I don't know. Rob Lee is someone to watch. He looks content to go in the back of the pack right now, but look, he's moving up quickly like a veteran rider, like I would expect him to do it.
Rob Lee looks pretty
straight to the front.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, I guess that's one way you can do it. If you're
not
Rob
messing
Lee,
around.
you can just
He's making a big move.
This is impressive. I really like this. I've seen Fidel kind of race conservatively a few times, but they've got some horsepower.
Rob Lee just
Look
says,
at
I
this.
don't care. He just waved at the crowd.
Wow.
He just waved at the crowd.
Rob Lee just gets in, does a lap, rolls straight off the front, and pumps up the Phi Delta Theta crowd. That's pretty cool. You don't see that very often, but I'm impressed.
He just wants FaceTime. Rob Lee knows he's getting the FaceTime right now. He's smiling. He's loving it.
And in the meantime, you have Cutters responding. Looks like SIGAP responding as well. They're not going to let that go for long, but hey, props to Rob Lee for getting out there, taking the race by the scruff of the neck and throwing down a little bit.
A lot of swagger by Rob Lee right now. All right, looks like Cutter's coming in for an exchange, a bike-to-bike. Not a huge gap right now, but this pack is pretty strong out. SAE's going.
Oh, man.
Andy Krahulik.
Looks like we've got some a little congestion there while we had 3 teams exchanging, the Cutters being one of them.
SIGAP.
Some swerving around, just trying to get those exchanges off.
Look at this gap. Look at this gap for Andy Krahulik. Andy Krahulik, he's not messing around either.
Now, the race is getting pretty aggressive right now. Those weren't overly long first sets for a lot of riders, but this is a little more aggression than I thought we would see early. Definitely, I think some of these less fit teams are probably hurting. You would ideally like to get in there for a nice, slow, relaxed first set, just do some drafting and not have to sprint around this much. But lots of teams riding hard, riding aggressively here in the first 20 laps. Very impressive.
I see Luke Momper of Delta still out here.
Momper's still on. Wow, I'm not sure if Momper would be their finisher or not today, but Luke is, this is a quality first set. If you're not going to finish the bike race, knocking out 20 laps early without having to stress any of your other riders, that's a really good start to the race. Definitely kicking it off on the right foot.
He's a 5th-year student, and he is a 4-year rider. One of the very few in the field. There are rumor he's petitioning for a 6th year, but I don't know if race director Jordan Bailey is going to let that happen.
Props to him. If you can ride 4 years, be in school for 5 years, why not? I mean, no one's going to argue with that. College is great. Little 500 is amazing. Why don't you just do 8 years? I mean, seriously, stay around.
I'm not sure he has any intentions of going anywhere. Luke was featured in the film One Day in April. Ryan, why don't you talk a little bit about One Day in April, what it's about, what can viewers expect when they see it?
Well, One Day in April is pretty cool to watch the process of, it kind of develop around here.
It's a documentary about Little 5. They follow 4 teams. They follow Cutters, Delta Tau Delta, Teeter, and Delta Gamma, and they take you through a course of the 2013 men's and women's Little 500. The crew who actually created this, I recently saw it. It was amazing. It nearly brought me to tears, but I don't cry because I'm tough. But the film was amazing, and that crew who put it on, they are the ones who are broadcasting the race today. Because of the delay, the race is on a Sunday. Access TV, who typically broadcasts it, was unable to do it, so the crew from One Day in April stepped up and made it happen. Every fan of Little 500 University should go see that film.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's nice because, obviously race tape, having each race documented is something that's, important to a lot of people. Some for nostalgia's sake, other for teaching purposes. Race tape is a very, vital part of the Little 500. So it's great that we're not going to have a year where we have no race tape.
Right. We have some burns going on right now. Sigma Nu looks like they're bringing it in. He's got his head down. He's barreling. He's not really being marked by the pack. An exchange by Pie Caps here. I really like this first set by Charlie Hammond of BKB. Charlie's a sophomore. This is his first race, and he's riding like a veteran. He's riding up there. He's confident. He's assertive. He's taking wheels. He's not doing too much work. I really like that set from him.
But you'll see here the race is slowed down a little bit. All those teams, obviously you have to pay for your efforts. So if you've gone out there and done a hard first set or done a big attack or burnout, you're going to have to recover at some point. So you see, it's 3-4 wide here coming down the start finish. So obviously anytime you see the field like that wide as opposed to long, that means it's slow. When it gets fast, you see it strung out, single file, nice and long. So right now you can tell 3-4 wide, not a whole lot going on, but looks like we got Beta hitting it coming out of turn 2. Beta with Cutters right on their wheel. This will be a good indication of who's fast today. Beta's got about a bike length or 2 on that Cutters rider. Both those guys looking smooth, looking fit, looking fast.
Beta has confidence. Beta has swag.
Here we go. Let's see. Nice bike to bike.
That's Chris Craig, I believe, who just got off the bike.
And you'll notice this Cutters rider, I believe that's Nick Theory. He looks like he just basically was given a free gap. He followed that burn, and he's got, 20 bike lengths on the field. So he can either do one of 2 things. He can either push the pace here and try to draw out some other teams, get them to chase, or, since we're only 23 laps in, he may just sit up, spin his legs for a second, and wait for the pack to catch him.
I had a great discussion with the legend, Jim Kirkham of Cutters, an excellent guy, beloved in the Little 5 community. And I asked him, Jim, what's it going to take for Cutters to win? And he goes, confidence. The team, they believe in each other, they believe in their teammates, but do they believe in themselves? He says the key for us to winning is for us to believe in ourselves and have the confidence to finish this race.
Looks like we got Luke Momper coming out here, actually. Sorry to cut you off there, but we were just talking about Momper's long set. We're at lap 24. Since they're pitting on the backstretch, he's taking it in. He's got a teammate waiting for him, arm out, doing a bike-to-bike exchange. Really nice first set from Momper. That's 24 laps. You know, that's a pretty good portion of this bike race that he just knocked out. So quality from the Delta rider, Luke Momper.
Charlie Hammond of BKB is drilling the pass. He tries to pull off. No one's there. Charlie's looking around. He says, go ahead and pull through. All right, we're going to throw down to the pit for a Beta Theta Pi interview with Kirsten Powell.
I'm down here in the pit with the Beta Theta Pi's coach, Eric Kaiser. Eric, how do you feel about the start of the race so far?
Yeah, the race has started really fast. It was really difficult for our guy to get to the front, starting in 17th, but he managed to get up there, and we had a clean exchange, and now we're right in the front.
Yeah. So you have all 4 returning riders this year, right?
That's right, all 4.
Tell me more about that.
You know, they've showed they've grown a lot in the last year. You know, 2 guys in the top 10, top 5 ITTs. They've been very consistent year over year. They're really hungry after the finish last year.
Awesome. Good luck today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Back to you, Steven.
All right. And we have Charlie Hammond on the front, and we have the Cutters rider, Nick Theory. They look content to be working together. The race has slowed down quite a bit. You see it bunch up. Charlie's looking around saying, hey, help me out here. Nick Theory's pulling through, it looks like. But yeah, slow pace right now. They're doing about 40-second laps. I anticipate things starting to speed up here in a second.
Yeah, lots of aggressive racing here early. This is, as a fan, this is what you want to see. People just going out there and throwing down. You don't race or you don't train all year through these terrible weather, winter days, to go out there and ride around, ride easy, and just do nothing. So it's cool to see these guys get out there and test their legs a little bit and draw on that fitness that they've all accumulated over the last year.
I really like what I'm seeing out of Phi Delta Theta early. They're riding him up front.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're riding with confidence. And Rob Lee's having fun. I think Rob Lee might be toying with the field a little bit. He throws in surges. He looks back and says, what are you guys doing? Oh, we just got to wave to the crowd there. A lot of fanfare from the riders today. They're just trying to get their FaceTime.
Yeah, that is the currency of Little 500, FaceTime. And so Phi Delta definitely knows how to pump the crowd a little bit. Rob Lee is more than just glorious flowing locks. He also has some serious pop and is definitely going to be a rider to watch later today.
I believe for SAE, they have Andy Krahulik's brother, Joe Krahulik, is a freshman rookie in the race right now. He's riding like a veteran. We got to move on the outside.
This is good. We got BKB hitting it on the backstretch. Rob Lee showing some good fitness. Just hops right on, is going to cover that burn. All right, looks like they're both bringing the bike in, so this is nice for
a crowded exchange. I see four people out here ready to exchange.
Looks like Nick Theory from Cutters was going to bring it in and decided to stay out. Cutters had their riders standing in the pit. Oh, we got a nearly botched exchange here due to some traffic.
Usually it can get very tricky with these exchanges. You see the rider from BKB just stood there, hold his line, and just hope he didn't get hit.
All right, and here we go. Nick Theory looked like he may have wanted to come out last lap, didn't get the opportunity, so he just waited one more, heading on the backstretch, and here he comes, coming out of turn 4. It looks like we got a Cutters rider standing in the pit. We have a Sig Ep rider standing in the pit. We've got another crowd exchange coming in here, which requires good communication between your competitors. Otherwise, you're going to have some collisions in the pits.
A good exchange by Cutters. He's right at the beginning, near the front of the pack, and that's exactly what you want to see.
We got Sig Ep, looks like setting the pace right here. Not slow, not fast. Nobody's really doing anything crazy at the moment. Just kind of, staying out of trouble, staying at the front. Looks like that might be Charlie Hicks from Sig Ep. I believe this is his first race. Very strong rider, but definitely I assume he'll be improving a lot throughout the day just as he gets more laps under his belt. He brought it in there. Okay, let's see. We've got another Sig Ep rider.
Yep. Ooh, the field is kind of broken apart right now. It's very strung out. I would anticipate there are about 12 teams on the lead lap still at this point.
Yeah, you'll see Phi Delta on the front kind of looking around, just taking stock of who's there, trying to make sure, everything is how they want it. And so although they're on the front right now, they're not really pushing the pace. They're just kind of hanging out, staying in a good position. As you see, he swings toward the outside, kind of looks to his left and says, hey, who's going to take over this pacemaking? I'm not going to drive it on the front all day. Who's up? Looks like BKB is going to take over the pacemaking now. rolls straight to the front, and those white helmets gonna put in a solid turn of speed.
I mean, I guess, I mean, you have to ride well if you're wearing those helmets.
That's true. If you're wearing a potentially goofy-looking helmet but win the bike race, everybody's gonna forget about those helmets. So they got a lot of stake in this today. They've got something to prove because you have to outshine those helmets.
All right, so through 32 laps right now, it played out about how you would expect. The contenders are all still here. Ooh, Beta Theta Pi making a big move. That's Joe Laughlin on the bike. He rode in the race last year as a freshman. He came back more experienced, a very dedicated, hardworking rider. He's riding Sigma News wheel.
Guys, you can really see, as we talked about earlier, this race is stretched out right now. No 2, 3, 4 wide. We're talking single file. People are hurting. Beta's got a gap here. They've got a rider waiting in the pit, so this should be an exchange. But yeah, definitely the pack is getting smaller. It's very strung out. I guarantee you, those riders out there are hurting. Nobody's just cruising around at the moment.
Beta Theta Pi with a bike-to-bike exchange. That looks like AJ Suit on the bike getting back up to speed. AJ's another rider in the race who has improved a ton. I think AJ dropped nearly 10 seconds from his ITT time. That speaks volumes to him as an individual and to Beta Theta Pi as a program. They won the race back in 2013, led by Eric Anderson, and Anderson is their main coach now. And I think he's done a great job of instilling tradition of hard work. And those guys really care about it, and they are hungry today. You can sense it. They want to win this race.
Actually, a quick correction there. I was down in the pits talking to Beta this morning, and Eric Kaiser is going to be their race day coach. I think they've got a lot of people contributing, which is the case when you have a quality house and a quality little 5 team like that. You get a lot of people contributing to the race day effort. Eric Kaiser is in the pits today. Will Craigie from that 2013 race day team is mechanicking today. You got a lot of the guys back and contributing to this 2015 Beta team.
I like what Wright Cycling's doing right now. They're staying out of the trouble. They're drafting. They're getting good gaps. Do you think Wright's going to be able to stay around the whole race and maybe make a move at the end?
Yeah, it's a fine line between staying out of trouble and also riding a little bit too far back. So that's going to be something they're going to have to balance. If they're going to stay out of trouble, that requires positioning their bikes well, and so far they seem to be doing a good job, but we'll see. It's a long bike race. We have a lot of laps to knock out here before we can see what they've got at the end.
Luke Tormelin of Delts going in for an exchange brings in a big gap. They do a bike-to-bike. It's been years since I saw Delta Todd Delta do a rider exchange. They always do bike-to-bikes. They believe in its safety. They believe in its consistency. It's a little slower, but it's safer, and they really like that. So I think that's Anthony Vicino of Delts on the bike right now. Anthony's a very strong rider, and he's very popular in the Little 5 community as well.
Yeah, you see here, though, this, from last time I talked about this, the field has gotten even smaller. Lots of solid color jerseys in there, as you'd expect. Beta, although not a solid color jersey, at the front. Fidel hitting the front right here. But I think, what you can't see on the television is how windy it is out there today. And wind is a major factor, and I think the more wind we have on race day, the more it's going to whittle down the front of this bike race. It's just you can't hide when it's windy. Even if you're not the team that's on the front setting the pace, you're still paying. You're riding. Oh, we got a crash here. Sig Ep down. Looks like
it's right by the pit. He's getting up.
Sig Ep is up. We got looks like a damaged
confusion.
bike.
There's no bike. It's not rideable. The mechanic isn't ready. The bike was on the stand.
Oh.
Sig Ep is a half lap down right now. They got to get going.
Yep, looks like the Sig Ep rider is just in turn 1, and the field is rolling into turn 3. So yeah, that's a full half lap.
And there was no yellow flag. There was no yellow flag.
Yeah, that's a
the
frustrating
pack is drilling
situation.
it now. They've got about a half to a third of a lap gap. This is going to be tough to make up for them.
Yeah, they're going to have to hope for a lull here. There are quite frequently lulls in the action. As you see it here, it's starting to get wide. Teams kind of swung off and said, "Hey, I'm not gonna set the pace." And meanwhile, they're chasing hard here, just going through the start-finish, putting in a major effort.
So Ryan, what is your strategy? What would you tell your girls of Kappa Alpha Theta? You are down a half lap. There's more than 3/4 of the race still to be run. Do you freak out? Do you go hard right away? Do you tempo? What's your strategy?
You do go hard, but you can't freak out. You have to stay composed, because look right here. The front of the bike race is not going that fast, so you just have to keep it steady, turn good, solid, hard laps, and look for assistance back here. Look, we've got 3 teams kind of working together. They're getting a little bit of a tow back up towards the rear of the pack. It's much closer to a third or even a quarter lap now than that half lap as it was originally. So you just have to stay in there, do a set of 3, 4, 5 laps, ride hard, but don't kill yourself.
Absolutely. There are 40 laps scored right now as Wright rolls through the start-finish line. That's Nick Hartman of BKB on the front right now.
Yeah, BKB once again just riding the front, not really doing anything crazy, just kind of staying out of trouble. We've got Cutters on their wheel, Fidelt riding in a good position there on the outside. Once again, we got Beta coming up the inside from the back of the pack, looking to improve their position, get into that safe zone at the front of the pack. Definitely, we've seen a few crashes early in the race here. I would say this is not the most low-stress start to Little 500 you could get. Lots going on here, pretty action-packed.
Nick Hartman going in really wide. Oh, he's bringing in a big gap. That's Nick Hartman.
This is a long burnout here. He basically is going to do a full lap. He went pretty much right in front of the Black Key Bulls pit and is going to do a whole lap burnout, which, if you've got the strength, that's a great tactic because you get a nice big burn and give your new rider an easy merge back into the front of the pack.
That's a big gap, but the question is that going to come back later and hurt him? It's still early in the race, and that was a pretty big effort. As Nick Hartman exchanges to Tyler Hart of BKB, that's both of their first races. A good exchange, a good bike-to-bike, and he's right back in the pack.
Yeah, we've got, that's perfect. We've got a couple teams here drifting off the front, including Cutters and Fidelt. So you've got the pack there kind of sitting up a little bit. I would expect Cutters maybe to be coming in for exchange, maybe not. They've just got a little gap here and doesn't look like it's part of an exchange. We've got a Cutters rider solo with Fidelt just a couple bike lengths behind him and a little bit of gap on the field. So maybe we see something developing right here.
This looks like a real move, Ryan. This looks like a real move. Yeah. I saw Jason Fowler in the pit. He did some kind of weird signal. I'm not sure what it means, but as soon as he did it, I believe that's Chris Philipson of Cutters. He started turning it over quicker. This is a big gap. This is about a straightaway, and the pack is not responding.
Okay, so this is interesting. We've got the Cutters rider with a pretty good gap. Then we have a Fidelt rider behind him. They're both bringing it in for exchange. We've got riders waiting in each of their respective pits. If they could get together and work together, this could be cause for concern.
Now here's the question. That's Logan Kuhn, who's just receiving it. He's got a gap. Could you drill it right now, or do you relax? We'll see what they do.
You might as well. I don't know. If it were me, I would push the pace a little bit.
He just linked up with Phi Delta Theta.
And Fidelt didn't come in that time. We do have the Fidelt rider waiting in the pits as he was last time. I would assume they've got to be coming in here because that Fidelt rider definitely looks like he could use a break. But Cutters have a fresh rider on. So once again, fresh legs are, that's the best thing you can have. If you're out there with a group of riders and one of them has fresh legs, he's going to be able to really have the upper hand over his competitors.
I like what Logan's doing right now. He's keying off of Forrest, who's riding a great race so far. He's not doing any work. And
we also have, looks like a gap here coming from that right rider. He's distanced himself from the main group and is actually coming up to the back of the leaders, but he's got a teammate standing in the pit, so he's going to exchange. It'll be interesting to see what his teammate does. Does he try to rejoin with that front group, or does he just kind of link up with the group in the back?
I'm surprised the field hasn't responded more. Fidelt just went straight to the front of the chase group. Fidelt seems keen on bringing it back in, but I don't think this move is going to stick. Logan from Cutters seems content to just relax, and Forrest is just pulling him around the track right now.
Here we go. Fidelt going off the front, though. Looks like they are at least a little bit concerned. They're going to get up to that group of two. They don't want to give those guys an unnecessary gap. So it looks like they're going to make that leap across. BKB sitting on the front of the chase group. They're definitely putting in a little bit of an effort to get there. But this is the race is getting hard right now. Even if you're sitting on, you're hurting. There's nobody out there that's just hanging out doing an easy set right now. Everybody's in the hurt locker a little bit.
I think that the race is coming back together right now, but I like that move by Cutters. It instilled a little fear into everyone else. But yeah, we're seeing things come back together right now. It's still only lap 48, and there's still a lot of racing left.
Yep, quarter of the race down, but as you can see, lots of solid colored jerseys, significantly smaller front group, and although that little patch of aggressive racing right there, although that didn't really crack it and blow the race completely apart, you definitely stung some riders' legs, and so that may not come back to bite you now, but on lap 180, you may have just burnt the matches that you needed then, as if you're on one of these top tier teams that's looking to win this bike race. If you had to do a chase set there, you may not have enough left in the tank late in the race. We'll have to see.
Teams Evan Scholars and Pi Kappa Alpha, who started in the top 2 rows, are off the lead lap. Like Ryan mentioned earlier, the pace has been quick. These riders are riding aggressive, and I think those guys exchange off the back, and they are no longer on the lead lap.
Yeah, that's rough. If you're one of those teams that maybe doesn't have the depth of some of the others around you, and you qual in one of the first few rows, this is definitely not what you're looking for, this type of start to the race. Windy, hard. Looks like we got Sig Ep, actually. I don't think they're a lap down. Looks like they may be about to catch. They're putting a fresh rider on, and
good for Sig Ep.
That's less than a quarter lap, and he's got fresh legs. So if he can rejoin at the back of the pack, that's going to be a major bullet that they dodged as a team if they can just rejoin here.
Absolutely, but you burned a few matches trying to get back up. That might catch up to them later in the race.
All right, we got Cutters going off the front here with a rider waiting in the pits for a bike-to-bike. Nice gap.
There's some congestion. He's going really. Oh, he's almost in the gutter. All right, a good bike-to-bike. Oh, someone's down. Oh, he's in the way. Well, they swung around him. Lando Kai swung around him. There's no wreck, but that was a very dangerous situation.
Yeah,
that was a great set by Logan Kuhn of Cutters. This is his first little 500. He's actually dating the women's champion, Liz Lieberman. Ryan, do you think that gives him the extra confidence he needs today to perform well?
I don't know about confidence. She's pretty fast, and I think I've heard rumors of bike races on the little 5-track between Logan and Liz, and I won't call it officially a win or a loss for either side, but I've heard rumors that maybe he didn't fare as well as he would have liked. Liz has got some pretty good speed, but that's a really good set for Logan's first set. That wasn't that easy. So to get out there and have your first set, a little 500 under your belt, and without major incident, that's a real victory, honestly.
On Team 9, 6th, Team 20, Phi Gamma Delta, 7th, Team number 1, Wright. In 8th, Team 19, Gray Goat. 9th, Beta Theta Pi, Team 17. And in 10th, Team 11, Forest. 11th place, Kappa Sigma, Team 13. 12th, Team 10.
50 laps scored. The race is playing out like you would expect. The top teams have stayed up front. They've rode aggressive. There was a very early wreck, but none of the top contenders went down.
Yeah, we've seen Evan Scholars and Pi Kappa Alpha are both drop back out of the lead group. It's been a rough start to the race for some teams, but yeah, I think a lot of that can be attributed to the wind. There's just no hiding out there. So if you were hoping for an easy day on the bike and just kind of hide and stay out of trouble, on a windy day like this, you just can't quite hide. So I think that could definitely have contributed to some of those teams that haven't been able to hold the pace early.
Racing's underway. We still have 150 laps left.
23rd, David Kine, Team 25. 24th, Team 3, Evan Scott. 25th, Team 26, Delta Sigma Pi. 26th, Alpha Epsilon Pi, Team 24. 27th, Youngblood, Team number 25.
Through 54 laps, we have Black Key Bowls on the front, right cycling, exchanging. Ooh, that's RJ Thomas making a big move. He's not waiting around for anyone. He's turning it over coming out of turn 4.
Yeah, looking strong. Big gap. I like the fact that he went long on this burnout. He's another full lap burnout we're seeing here, similar to that one from the BKBs we just saw. If you have the legs to do it, why not? It gives you an opportunity to really stretch that gap and make it easy on your teammate that you're giving the bike to.
It hasn't been since 2006 since a team lapped the field. Ryan, do you think any of these teams have the ability, have the talent to go for a lap, or are people content to sit in and play their chances in the last 20 laps or maybe a sprint?
That's taking a lap. There's a reason it doesn't happen very often, is because it's obviously very difficult. Riding by yourself in the wind is no easy task, and it's obviously very windy today. I don't know that there are any teams that are strong enough, unless a very unique situation were to present itself. I don't really see anyone getting away solo and putting a lap in, because to put a lap in the rest of the field, you've got to ride by yourself for a long time. It would take 20 laps to get a lap on the field, and I just don't see it happening in this wind today.
Yes, the wind included, and it's a balanced field. These teams are smart. They're marking each other. Each team has people on the fence counting other people's laps to stay informed. It would be very, very challenging to do that.
Yeah, there's definitely some level of surprise necessary, or you need the other top teams to almost not notice, so you can get a little bit of that gap. And so with this many top tier teams today, paying attention with their entourage on the fence, nobody's going to let anybody else get a surprise quarter lap gap before they notice. Everybody's going to be on a pretty short leash today, especially when you have so many teams with 4 strong riders. They'll just, send one of our henchmen, our 4th rider out there who happened to also get 16th in ITTs, go out there, do a hard set, pull them back. So I don't think anybody will be given the freedom to get a big gap like that.
You never know what's going to happen, though. There could be a wreck. There could 2 teams could pair up and work with each other. It's still very early on in the race, and as we assess it right now, the pace has slowed considerably, and it's speeding up right now. That looks like Fidel making a big move. Tyler Hart of BKB is marking him. Fidel with some great separations. Let's see if we're going to get some exchanges here.
We got Rob Lee waiting. I hope he doesn't get cinders on those fresh white shoes, but he's looking good, ready to. We got a little congestion here. They actually both did a
bad exchange. That almost took people out.
Yeah,
that could be an impeding penalty for Black Key Bulls. Spencer was getting on the bike, got in about the 3rd lane. That was very dangerous. They are lucky they are upright now.
Definitely unintentional, but that's just kind of the luck of the draw. If you're on a similar exchange schedule with a team that's near you, you just have to be careful and do your best to hold your line. And unfortunately, they kind of, totally unintentionally, but kind of pushed each other out towards the racing line. So luckily, no one went down, but definitely not ideal.
We were talking about lapping the field earlier, and one of the guys who has done it before, Chris Wojtowicz, rode for the Cutters, and now he coaches Wright. Kirsten Powell's in the pit with him.
I'm here with Chris Wojtowicz and Wright Cycling. They're this year's pole sitters. They won qualifications. Chris, what's the pressure for being a pole sitter? What is that like?
I mean, it just puts you in a good position to start the race. Doesn't mean much more than that, except safety, really. But for us, I mean, it means we have really good sprinters. So, that's a really good sign for us, because our gaps are huge right now. And, at the end of the race, look for that pole to really help us accelerate through the finish line first, hopefully.
Awesome. Well, best of luck. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Take care.
All right.
But you just wonder, with the team that's deep like they are, this is Rob Lee's 2nd set already. You just wonder if maybe, at some point they'll sit him out and potentially rest him for a sprint. He's obviously got great legs and can create some separation. But who knows, if he's going to be their sprinter, that at some point they may rest him up a little bit in the name of freshness for the sprint.
I don't think Rob wants to rest. Rob wants to FaceTime. Rob wants to yell at the crowd.
That's true.
But it is interesting. He seems very aggressive. He's not waiting for anyone. He's saying, "Cunt, catch up, cunt, catch me."
That little bit of communication between Fidel and Beta right there as they went through the start-finish line. Rob Lee went under, flicked his elbow a little bit, and said, "Hey, let's go. Let's push the pace." And you'll see that type of communication all day between those top teams that know each other well. They've been battling all spring, and so they'll just say, "Hey, man, we've got a little gap here. Let's push it and see what happens." And so, I mean, although that particular surge didn't really do a lot, it's just the cumulative effect of people chasing down these little gaps all day that can, at the end of the race, make the difference.
Rob seems to be talking to other riders. He doesn't like doing all this work. He wants people to step up and help keep the pace hot. Spencer Brockles had none of it, too. He's on the front, driving the pace right home.
Yeah, we got some nice, looked like they were going to get some separation, then sat up a little bit, but as I said earlier, you don't see much in the way of long leashes here. These guys are fit and they want to use their legs. They don't want to sit around. So if another team is pushing the pace, you're going to see the rest of those contenders kind of flex a little bit and get out there and open up their legs.
Speaking of flexing, Spencer Brockles' quads right now, they look like tree trunks. And Chris Craig's right on his wheel. Beta Theta Pi is staying off the front. They have not done a lot of work. They're being very savvy. They don't have a solid color jersey. So sometimes when that happens, you can kind of, teams will not pay attention as much and fall a little under the radar.
Yeah, if you're one of those, obviously, if you're wearing yellow, you're as marked as anyone. But if you're wearing one of those multicolored jerseys, that may just give you the extra little bit of gap on your exchanges to have a low-stress race. We've got Sig Ep here with a nice gap. Nice recovery from them.
That's a great race by Sig Ep so far. They were down nearly half lap. It happened to them in 2014 as well. They did a great job bringing the bike back. Those guys are going to be tough to put away at the end of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very difficult to manage that situation. If you find yourself a half lap down like they did and able to claw back, that's very impressive already. You just wonder how many matches they may be burned, catching back to that front group. So we'll see, but looking solid so far.
Cutters with another big gap. They are smart. They're having a great race. I'm surprised more teams are not marking them as Brian DePass brings it into Nick Theory. His beard, though, that thing must be itchy. He must be drawing a lot of power and strength from it.
Yeah, you almost wonder between Rob Lee's hair and Brian DePass's beard, who has the greatest head accessory today. And that could be up for debate, but definitely two unique styles. We got a little surge coming over the top on the backstretch. Looks like nobody's really responding. The contenders are seeming content to just kind of watch each other for the time being.
The attendance looks pretty good today, Ryan. How many people would you guess are here?
I don't know. I've heard the number 17,000 before, and it's stuck in my mind because that's roughly the capacity of Assembly Hall. So I don't know if, given the schedule changes and everything like that, if we have a full house today, meaning 17,000. But regardless, solid attendance given the schedule change. We're on a Sunday. But yeah, for most of these people, most of these riders, this is going to be the biggest crowd they ever do anything in front of. So it's a pretty cool experience, to say the least.
Little 500. It's for many riders, myself, and I assume you as well, it's a life-changing experience. What the foundation does, it helps influence lives, helps riders create an identity at Indiana University. Would you find that your experience with the foundation helped define your college experience?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's the same for everyone who experiences Little 500. Just being involved with it gives you a different sense of purpose than your average college student. It changes your priorities a little bit, and I think you definitely, you find a sense of purpose that maybe wouldn't be there otherwise. It connects you with a lot of different friend groups and exposes you to new people. And I think most people that have anything to do with Little 500 in any way, shape, or form, it ends up being their defining aspect of their college experience.
The men and women who compete in this are competitors. There's no smiles today. Outside of race day, everyone is friends. It's an incredibly unique, warming, great community. But today on race day, there are no friends. They're gladiators stepping into the arena.
Yeah, it's definitely, there is a really nice level of camaraderie amongst the top teams and amongst everyone, really. But you have this mutual respect for each other, and the respect doesn't go away on race day, but you're definitely a little less chatty, a little less social. You're here for business, not looking to discuss your post-race plans. So it's definitely, a different environment than your average track practice today. There will be a little joking around here and there before the race, but while you're out there,
Oh, look at Spencer Broccoli get out of the saddle.
Big gap.
He is as good as anyone else at sprinting out of the saddle. SAE on the front of the pack, they don't really want to chase it. They're waiting their time until they can exchange. Let's see if Black Key Bulls has a better exchange than last time.
Yeah, you know, this is a situation where had it maybe been later in the race, you know, this is a type of gap that you could do something with. So, you know, we'll kind of take mental note of this and see if later in the race they get a similar gap and can push the pace.
Here comes Delts, too. Delts looks like, I think that's one of the third or fourth rider bringing in a big gap to a bike-to-bike exchange. I wonder what sign Courtney Bishop has up. Courtney Bishop, the coach for Delta Tau Delta, is well known for his signs, in particular Jefferson. Every other lap he'll have the Jefferson sign up, and I'm not sure anyone really knows what it means. You know, Ryan, it's been a pretty safe race outside of the early part. It's been safe. Do you expect a wreck in the near future?
Well, you know, unfortunately, wrecks are definitely a part of this bike race, and they seem to come fairly regularly. And we haven't had one in a little bit. I'm not rooting for one by any means, but and you know, I keep referencing the wind, but I can assure you it is a legitimate part of this bike race. And so when it's windy, you get buffeted around a little bit, and you never know when the next you know, shoulder bump or wheel rub could be right around the corner. So hopefully not, but we'll see.
All right, Ryan, here's something we've missed so far. The leader through 72 laps is 3PH Cycling. 3PH Cycling is a new team on campus. This is their first year. That is so hard to do. They are coached by a former professional cyclist, Brian Gilly. Brian's a teacher, and I love what 3PH is doing. They've never done this. They're all rookies. They came out here, and they're fighting, and they're competing, and who knows, come lap 200, maybe there'll be a new name on the Borg Warner Trophy.
Yeah, absolutely. That's cool to see from a first-year team getting up there and mixing up at the front of the bike race. I was a part of the first Black Key Bulls team, and you know, it's different because you have to earn that respect. And so for them to be getting up there and mixing it up at the front is no small feat. So it's cool to see. Absolutely, it's fun to see new, fresh faces at the front of the Little Five because it's not just the cutters and you know your usual suspects always. So yeah, definitely nice to see them up there.
Ryan, you mentioned respect. That's a huge part of the race. If you are a team that didn't qual particularly well and you might be a few laps down and you go to the front of the race, you're going to get yelled at. There are going to be some choice words thrown at you. Do you yell at people like that in your races?
Well, maybe not yell at them, but there's definitely, you have to basically all the spring series events, it's like tryouts. So if you want to prove that you're a legitimate cyclist, a legitimate bike racer, you have to prove yourself all spring amongst your peers that give them a reason to give you that space at the front of the race. If you've proven that you're a sketchy bike rider and can't keep it upright because you continually crash in front of people, well, you're going to have a tough time getting wheels at the front of this pack. But if you show up regularly, have good results, you know, are a quality bike rider, a good wheel to have in the pack, you should have no problem moving around. So it's kind of on you to prove yourself.
And if you aren't and you are sketchy, they're going to let you hear it.
Yeah, there will be no shortage of people telling you to get out of the way and go to the back. So
and they won't say it as nicely either. All right, so through 75 laps, there are 18 teams still with this lead pack. I am very surprised there are 18 teams hanging around.
Yeah, that's in my opinion, that's a little bit of a problem waiting to happen when the race is that big. I mean, yes, we're not to halfway through yet even, but that is a large, the pack's bigger than I thought. I think it's kind of, the pace is lulled a little bit here, slowed, and so that's allowed some people to rejoin. And that can cause trouble or definitely be harder to manage later. So I would assume that we'll see some teams riding hard as Beta brings it in here for an exchange.
Luke Momper of Delts back on the bike. I can't believe there are 18 teams still. Oh no, SAE has a big gap. SAE is a quarter lap up.
Wow, they just kind of snuck off the front here. We're gonna, although there are, 17 other teams to continue chasing here,
The pack's picking up on it now.
They're starting to notice, and alarm bells are going off a little bit, saying, "Hey guys, that one team, they're up the road. We should maybe react to this." And so I would imagine we'll start seeing some people freak out a little bit.
It's a half lap. The pits are going crazy. The coaches are screaming and flailing. Chris West, the Phi Delta Theta, is waving his board around.
Lots of whiteboards getting shaken around right now. People are just realizing. Honestly, this is what I was talking about. You have to have that little bit of surprise if you want to get a big gap. But wow, this is insane. This is a big gap.
That pack has figured it out. It's strung out.
It's a
They're
half
not messing
lap.
around. SAE is riding 36-second laps. They are moving by themselves.
We got BKB on the front kind of leading the charge with Beta behind, Cutters behind them. We've got Luke Momper behind them from Delts. These are the contenders you would expect to pick up the pace here and say, okay, guys, we've still got 122 laps to go. But, we can't let this guy ride away here. And so these teams at the front, they need to communicate and realize that it's in all of their best interest to work together, share some of the load of pace making, and speed up the group, because if they don't, they're going to find themselves in a bad spot.
SAE comes in for an exchange. They have a 16-second lead with a slower exchange, but it doesn't matter when you have a lead this big. They're not waiting up. That's Andy Krahulik on the bike, and he is torquing on those handlebars. He wants to lap the field. This is a gutsy move.
Yeah, I was just talking about, how I didn't think it was going to happen. Well, I didn't even think someone would get this big of a gap. This is
what do you know, bro?
I know nothing, because these guys are they're killing it out there. This SAE rider, he has quickly gotten his bike up to speed and is settling into a solid time trial here. I would assume in a situation like this, you can't do long sets because your sets have to be fast. So I would assume we'll be looking at somewhere between a 3, 4, maybe 5 at the longest lap set. But yeah, he's going to be out there. Just the field, what they have not working in their favor is this potential lack of communication. And so when they stop communicating, the field slows up. Well, SAE, all they have to do is put their head down and ride as hard as they can.
The gap is growing. The gap is up to 17 seconds right now, and the pack has not reacted like I thought.
So we've got it looks like BKB has a rider standing in the pits currently, so we could be getting a couple fresh riders to help out with the chase effort. We've got Nick Theory on the front, it looks like, driving it for the Cutters.
He's exchanging.
ITT champ.
He's going to have trouble getting around these riders. He's going to have to do another lap.
He's going to have to. This is going to be a 2-lap burn. This is the type of stuff that happens in the field and leads to that gap growing and growing and growing. And so
SAE is riding a big set. The Krahulik brothers do not mess around. He's getting a little tired. It's about time to come out.
So let's see. We have those two riders on the front there. The BKB rider and the Cutters rider are going to exchange. That's going to lead Beta with a little gap to fight out, and I think will definitely create a little bit of confusion and slow up this chase effort. You can see it's getting hard. There are little gaps starting to open up here. Beta has a little gap. Fight out brings it in.
Nick
we got
Hartman
Luke
on the bike for Black Key Bowls, goes around Theory of Cutters.
Guys, this is not looking good for the field at this point. I'm kind of surprised. There's 3 big dogs, 3 top teams just exchanged. So they have to get back to the front of the race and get to work on closing this
strung out. This is not good for the field right now. This is good for SAE. SAE is cutting in with every lap. They're taking about a half second. The field needs to get organized. They need to start working together.
And yeah, look at this. You see the field just kind of swinging wide, looking at each other. Luke Momper's on the front, not really setting much pace. This is
they need to pull. They need to go.
Let's see. We got Chris Polipshin from the Cutters looking to make his way to the front and resume, speeding up the pace here. Sig F just brought the bike in. They've got a fresh rider on. So all these guys need to quickly get to the front and realize, hey, if we don't do something fast, this Sig F rider is going to find his way to the back of the field. All right, they're doing an exchange, and they have closer to 3/4 of a lap than a half now.
They lost a little ground with that, but I would attribute the unorganization to some teams who are not used to being on the lead lap are there. And so when you saw Momper wanted someone to pull through, but these teams who aren't used to being here, they're not used to the situation.
So you see a little bit better cooperation now. We've got a nice string of top teams at the front looking to up the pace. But, bottom line is SAE is still putting time into them. And if that cooperation doesn't last a little bit longer, right now, look what happened. There it goes. Beta swings over, looks for help, and nobody pulls through.
22 seconds, Ryan. 22 seconds.
That's humongous. 22
That's
seconds.
the gap.
These other top teams looking to chase here, they have some work to do. That's going to take a while. You don't just claw back 22 seconds in a few laps. It'll take a bit.
All right, it looks like we're going to get some collaboration between Black Key Bulls, Phi Delta Theta, Beta Theta Pi, and Cutters. These teams are organized now. They know they need to bring him back. They're taking half-lap pulls, and they're working together.
Yeah, they need to make sure that they just don't do a one-and-done pull, though. They need to stay up there and rotate a few times because one pull isn't going to help this cause. They need 4 pulls or 5 pulls from each of these top teams. They don't have time to mess around, do one pull, and, blow up their legs and go back to the back of the pack. They need to stay there, rotate, almost do like a team pursuit, like an all-star team pursuit amongst these top teams if they want to get up there.
SAE looks strong. They are not wavering. They are riding steady laps. His last lap was 35 seconds even. That's his 5th lap of the set. SAE is riding so strong.
Yeah, this is very impressive, and we saw it again there. It's really hard to get these top teams to collaborate consistently. We saw them line up and get a good-looking pace line going, and then it fell apart a half lap later. And so while SAE is, they're putting in some hard laps out there in the wind by themselves, and that's definitely going to wear on their legs. If the field just kind of keeps not communicating well and just slowly going backwards,
the field seems oddly content.
Yeah.
I don't see the sense of urgency that I would expect it to have.
Yeah,
yes, it's
absolutely.
a half lap, but SAE is very good. SAE deserves the respect.
Fresh rider coming on for SAE here. And they have this rider looks like he's rocking one of those Giro Air Attack helmets. I don't know about the data behind it, but that thing probably is going to save him a little bit of effort out there. He'll get nice and aero and see if that can, save him a quarter a second per lap. And, at the end of his set, maybe he saves a couple seconds. We'll see. He'll definitely be out there pouring it all on for a few laps.
Delts is going to try and bridge by themselves. They just left the pack. They got tired of.
The thing with that is, that's a bold move. But the bottom line is they are not going to bridge a 20-second gap by themselves. So they're taking off. They're like, okay, guys, let's get up there. But, it needs to be a group effort. They're not going to do this by themselves. And in my opinion, all they're going to do with this effort is probably wear themselves out and yet not get to the leader. So I think they would have been better served to stay in the pack, work together with their other competitors.
Yeah, that rider from SAE who just did a great set was Joe Krahulik. Joe's a freshman. He's a rookie. He's probably the best rookie rider in the field. The Chase pack, they're working. It's getting better. Nick Hartman from BKB is doing a lot of work as we see Sig Epp.
So we got a problem, not a problem, I guess, but at SAE that was definitely on a little too short of a set. SAE, they must be starting to feel it in their legs a little bit because you can't. If you want to stick this move, you have to do sets that are long enough to make it worth your while. You can't be exchanging every 2 laps because the exchange itself is too slow. And so you'll just start going backwards and backwards and backwards.
The pits are freaking out. Chris West of Phi Delta Theta is not happy with the race right now as they're about to put Joe Hanauer of Phi Delta Theta. Joe is a senior riding in his first race. Joe was able to learn a lot from this race from the Phi Delta program and tradition, specifically Wes Ring and Brendan Weiss, 2 guys who graduated, who instilled their knowledge onto him. Hopefully Joe can get on the bike and collaborate with these other riders and help bring this gap back.
All right, BKB looks like they're going to go to the front and pick up the pacemaking. Beta also coming around the outside. Are they going to go to the front and help pacemake, or they're just going to go straight off the front? Okay. Let's see, Sig Epp responds as well. Phi Delt responds. They're creating a little bit of a gap between Phi Delt and BKB there. BKB is going to have to pick up the pace and close that gap.
BKB and Sig Epp have done a lot of the work in this chase, and I think it's catching up to them.
Yep. It looks like Beta's bringing in for an exchange, so that gap will kind of close down a little bit. Same with Phi Delt. And Sig Epp is not. That'll leave them out. Looks like he just gave the sign for 1 lap till his exchange. So basically, the front of the chase group is effectively the Black Key Bulls there in yellow. Although Sig Epp is out there, they're about to bring it in, so they'll go backwards to the front of the field.
Ryan, the gap has gone from 22 seconds down to 10. I'm not so certain that this move is going to stick.
Yeah, it's not looking great at the moment, but you have to think, at the very least, this has really put everybody under a lot of pressure. This is what I was talking about, though, in regards to the wind and just the difficulty of riding solo. These guys are going out there and doing lap after lap at max effort, basically. So that's that obviously is going to take its toll, and it's a big ask. But if nothing else, everybody in the race has been paying the price for the last 20 laps chasing. So there are going to be a lot of tired legs, and we'll see who has the fitness at the end, see how much this impacted the other contenders.
That's Andy Krahulik back on the bike for SAE. Andy is one of the most experienced racers in the race today. He's done a lot of track racing. He's experienced. This is his third race, and he's racing with his brother today. How cool of an experience is that, racing with your brother?
Wow, okay, all right. I may have seen this. Sorry to interrupt you here, but I actually just saw the SAE coach gave Krahulik I can see his whiteboard now. It says sit. He gave him the, tone it down, hand signal, and I thought that was going to mean just, settle in and be steady. No, apparently he means sit up. He doesn't like how small this gap has gotten and doesn't want them to burn any more matches. So it looks like SAE is sitting up, waiting for the pack, and going to just try to reshuffle and try again later. Regardless.
We have a crash in the back. Oh, no, it just looks like an exchange.
All right,
SAE
so we have
has set up.
Beta, SAE is setting up. Beta is going up to them, and I would assume we'll see a really slow portion of the race after this, because everybody's going to have tired legs. I imagine everyone's really looking forward to SAE being there, back in the field, and just kind of recovering for a bit.
There hasn't been a crash in quite a while. It's been a very, very safe race. When you see things strung out like this and the riders are single file, the race becomes much, much more safe.
Yep, absolutely. So, yeah, the speed of the race definitely contributes to the safety aspect of it. But right now, if we had a team that had somehow weathered that storm, the difficulty of the last 20 laps and all that chasing, this is when you attack, because everybody's tired, everybody has sore legs, and everybody is really looking forward to taking a few laps at an easier pace. But if you've somehow weathered that storm without, doing too much damage to your legs, now's the time when you hit them. Hit them again.
You're right, Ryan. The pace has slowed down quite a bit. They're doing high 30-second laps. They're content to sit in, rest, take a breather, relax,
yep. Here we
gain
go.
your composure.
Four wide, BKB going to the front and just going to take a big, deep breath and say, okay, wow, that was a little scary. I'm glad that they didn't just lap us. And everybody is going to collectively take a deep breath and just kind of hang out for a minute.
After that monster move, SAE is probably feeling it. Kirsten Powell visiting with the SAE team.
I'm down here in the pit with SAE and former SAE winner in 2002, Luke Eisenbarger. Luke, your boys are holding this gap really well. What's the plan? Are they going to keep throwing down ITTs? How are they going to keep this lead?
Right now I think we're going to probably sit back into the race, but we'd like to be able to get away if we can. We would like to keep the pace hot if we can, make the other riders work a lot more. But, if we can get away, we'd like to do that. Got a deep enough team to try to keep a gap and maintain it. We'd rather win it that way than at a sprint where it's more of a crapshoot.
Absolutely. Are you concerned that your boys are going to be tired now after holding this on their own?
They've got a good coach in the pit. My former teammate, Dan Burns, is a pretty knowledgeable guy, and he'll ride them the right way. If they're sitting out just a little bit of a lead, he'll probably pull them back into the pack to let them rest and recover. If we can get away and stretch it enough, then we're going to push it.
And if it does come down to a sprint, is it going to be your freshman Joe?
I think it will be.
Great. Well, best of luck to you.
We got confidence in him. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks. Back to you, Steven.
Yeah, that was actually really exciting, though. That's a lot more drama than you tend to see in the middle of this men's race. Sometimes the men's race can get a little slow, can get a little negative racing-wise where nobody wants to do much in the middle of it. But right now we're coming up on 100 laps here in a little bit, and I would say these first 100 have been pretty aggressive and very well ridden by the top teams. It's been a hard day on the bike for everybody at this point.
The riders do not seem to be too affected by the wind. There are some fast lap times going on. SAE currently has the fastest lap of the day with a sub 32-second lap. I think that was done by Andy Krahulak, who we saw a lot of strong efforts from him. SAE is going to be a factor at the end of this race.
Absolutely. The only question mark I have with them is they clearly have some speed. You know, how much are those guys recovering down there on the trainers spinning their legs? Are they going to be recovered in time to do something at the end?
Through 100 laps scored now, the race time is 1 hour and 3 minutes. So if they were to keep up this pace, the finishing time would be 2 hours and 6 minutes, and that is a very fast race. Last year's race was won in 2 hours and 9 minutes. So if they keep this pace up, they will go a full 3 minutes faster. The boys are moving today.
Yeah, that's impressive. I know I keep referencing the wind, but bottom line is, in bike racing, wind is a factor. And honestly, this is just a testament to how strong the field is. These guys are acting like there's no wind out there, just crushing out fast lap after fast lap after fast lap. So this has been really impressive. You know, I'm definitely traditionally not afraid to be critical of, some of these teams' conservative racing or, just slow laps. But these guys are racing like a bunch of beasts today. This is very impressive.
Cutters with another big gap. Cutters just keep bringing in these good gaps. They have not exchanged off the back once.
Yeah, Cutters have had very nice burns today. And, although these burns aren't, they're not lapping the field, they're not doing anything spectacular, but just consistently nice gaps on their burnouts, that makes it very nice for their the next rider. It's a nice spot to be in if you're that new Cutters rider getting the bike.
We are 1 hour into the 65th running of the men's Little 500. 100 laps have been scored. The last 50 laps, we saw some fireworks. How about that SAE move, Ryan?
Yeah, that was a bold move. Very aggressive bike racing from SAE. Not exactly what I would have expected at that point in the race. Some might question how smart of a move that was, but I'm okay with it, honestly. I would much rather see a team, go out there and attack the bike race as opposed to sit around all day. Yeah, they probably burnt some matches. They did some hard efforts, but everybody did hard efforts. All the rest of the contenders were cycling through their riders, just really pouring it on. So I think, it hurt them a little, but it hurt everybody else a lot. So
if you're going to win this race, you're going to have to take some chances, and SAE took a big chance. It didn't work out, but they tested the field. The pack was very content and confused and unorganized at the beginning, but eventually they became organized and they chased it down.
Yeah, I think we could see something like that. If that happens in the last 25 to 30 laps, that could kind of be, the type of thing we see happen late in the race when maybe there aren't so many teams left to chase. If there are only, maybe 4, 5, 6 teams left, it's a lot easier to break the morale of that small handful of teams than it was in this situation when there are 18 or so teams on the lead lap.
100 laps left to go, and this Little 500. Cutting to Kirsten Powell, interviewing Delta mechanic James Kudright.
I'm here with James Codray, mechanic for Delta Tau Delta. James, we just saw you do an exchange with the team, and you replaced the parts. Can you run me through? Not every team has this much going on.
Yep. So one of the big things for us is we want to have a specific saddle height and specific bars for every rider. It's kind of like most people can run. So if you were training for a marathon and you wanted to trade shoes with your buddy, you wouldn't want to run in your buddy's shoes. So again, same thing on the bike. You don't want to run on your teammate's saddle heights. We have a separate one for every single person. We actually have a backup set for every single rider. It's a little bit more work for me. It's fine, as long as they're riding the right spot, there shouldn't be wrecks. I shouldn't have to do anything more, but this is a really integral part of the way we do things. Because again, if we can have the bike set up exactly for each rider, we're maximizing that. Like a lot of guys like Cutters, Black Key Bulls, will have the higher shoes. Again, I can't expect a lot of good performance off that. Again, we don't like to take any chances there. We still have to do a bike-to-bike exchange. We don't do rider exchanges then. But again, for us, it's going to pay back at lap 200.
So tell me a little bit. These aren't stock bikes. You guys get to replace certain parts. Can you tell us which parts you do replace?
Yeah. So again, we essentially replace as much as we can. We are limited on spoke count to 36 spoke wheels still. We can't go super deep. So we do build up the wheels though. Again, we still go with the same style hub. We do different bottom brackets. Really, the wheels will be the biggest thing. Getting the frame set up. But the component selection as far as getting the fit right for everybody is where we focus the most. So, yeah.
Awesome. And how many years have you been a mechanic?
So, I don't even want to think about it. That makes me feel kind of old. But I've been a mechanic for Delts and for DG actually every year since I've graduated in 2011. So.
Awesome. And you're a former rider yourself. It's probably a great way to still be involved in the race.
Oh, yeah. Now I can't even think about it. Think about not being a part of it in this way. I mean, it's great for all the guys. You know, all our other alumni are on the fence now. But there's a very unique feeling being on the inside. It goes by fast and also really slow at the same time. It's really nerve-wracking, but the guys are riding in good, smart positions. Then it's less work for me, and then, you know, we can all kind of be happy and wait for the end. So.
Great. Awesome. Thanks for talking to us. Back to you, Stephen.
Here we go. We have scored 105 laps so far, and it looks like Wright Cycling is on the front.
Yep, Wright riding a solid race so far, just hanging out of trouble. They're passing all their tests so far through 106 laps. They're just kind of, you know, staying out of trouble, biding their time, looking for an opportunity to make a move to win this bike race. But yeah, very impressive so far from a team that, you know, like we said earlier, could potentially be flying under some people's radar.
17 teams still in this pack. 17 teams have been able to handle the fast pace of this race. That is very surprising. What would you expect that number to be around 150?
150, I would be very surprised if that is still above 10. You know, I understand that's a lot of carnage still to come in the next, you know, 50 laps or so, 40. But you know, I can't imagine this race staying this big for that long. We'll see.
I just saw Black Key Bulls rider Tyler Hart signal to the pit that he's going to come out soon. So maybe we're going to see a big move from Tyler. Tyler is a senior. He's been on BKB for 4 years, and this is his first race. He has waited 4 years for this moment, and Tyler's had a great spring. He got 4th at Missing Out, 6th at ITTs. Black Key Bulls could potentially finish the race with him. Sig Epp on the front right now. Shoulders are a little drooped. I don't know if he's tired or he just spit on the bike.
You may be seeing a little bit of that chase set coming through in that body position. He's probably a little tired.
And Tyler Hart, he signaled. Now he's going. He's turning it over. Fidel seems to follow. Rob Lee is everywhere on the track right now.
Rob Lee looks good today, that's for sure. He, you know, I think in years past I've seen Rob maybe potentially not ride in such perfect positions, but today he's riding a great bike race. Very impressive. So as you were talking about, you know, being a senior member of BKB, Steven, you know, as a member of the Black Key Bulls championship team last year, can you talk about the nerves associated with knowing going into the bike race, this is your last little 500, you know, you have to lay it all out there. What do you feel as a final, you know, going into your final little 500?
You know, Ryan, you only get one chance. Tyler only gets one chance. And with one crash or anything that happens, your year could be done. Like last year on lap 189, one crash and your day is done. But for all the seniors out here, it's an emotional day. You put everything to this race. It's your passion. It's your identity. So win or lose, there's a lot of emotion. I expect a lot of tears later in the day.
Yep, lots of crying men. Looks like BKB, Spencer's kind of hanging out a little far back for my liking. You know, looks like he's probably in the process of moving up, but I always get nervous seeing teams that you know can be at the front. If they pause at the back for just a second, you know, you'd hate to see a year's worth of preparation go down the drain because they took a breather at the back of the pack at the wrong time.
I want to go back to the crying, Ryan.
Yeah.
The word around town is you're kind of soft and you cry pretty frequently. Can you speak to that?
I have been known to shed a tear or two. I hang out with a bunch of girls all the time, coaching Kappa Alpha Theta, so I guess it's gotten me a little bit emotional. But yeah, I maybe shed a tear or two on TV last year when we won the bike race. But
Bros don't cry. Bros don't cry.
I know. I need to toughen up. Looks like Cutter's making a move towards the front with quickly marked by Delts and BKB right following them. You wonder if they're coming in for an exchange. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be an exchange with not really much of a gap.
So for the viewers at home who aren't familiar with the race, talk about the bike because it looks they're all riding the same bike.
Obviously, these are stock Schwinn bicycles made specifically for this event. Actually, I'm going to put this talk on hold for a second about bikes because you were seeing the benefit or potential trouble with not getting a big gap on your burn because Beta just went. And as Cutters didn't have a big gap, that put the Cutters rider, Nick Theory, under a little bit of pressure. The field sped up to chase Beta while Nick Theory's off the back, and he had to put in a pretty big effort here to just now be joining the pack. But so yeah, the value of getting big gaps on your burns. But as far as little 500 bikes go, they're actually, they're made by Schwinn, a stock bicycle for the race specifically, custom paint jobs, everything. They're pretty cool looking this year, to be honest. We see a little bit of a botched exchange down here. But as I was cruising around before the race, I stopped by the Delts pit, kind of checked out a few bikes here or there. Delts have some pretty dialed bicycles. They have a lot of trade secrets they're working with down there. They didn't really want to talk much about, but you find the little ways that you can to get a little extra out of your stock Schwinn bicycle. And Delts have the nicest, most free-moving, free-spinning little 500 bicycles I've ever seen. So they will have no excuses equipment-related today, that's for sure.
Ryan, you're such a bike snob.
I have been called that before.
He's just gushing talking about the bicycles. I know you like your nice bikes.
That's true. So these little 500 bikes are all single speed, fixed gear, not fixed gear, sorry, coaster brake. 4618 is the gear, which, a lot of people around town, if they're not racing these little 500 bikes in the race, they use them as commuter bikes, which if you've ever ridden one of these things around town, they do not go forward easily. 4618 is a big gear. It's not exactly the easiest gear to push around town. Bloomington is not flat, and so when these guys get these bikes rolling and you see them with these 130 to 140 RPM spins, that's an accomplishment.
In fifth, Black Key Bolt, team 6. In fifth, Signal Epsilon, team 9. 6, Spy Gamma Delta, team 2.
Delts with a great exchange. Sigap is going now. Teams seem content. They're just eating up laps. So we're at that point in the race where no big moves are happening. Teams are content. We're waiting for the fireworks. They're coming, though.
Nice gap here from Sigap, which, considering how tough the first half of the race they had with their big chase set, that's pretty impressive at lap 116 to get a nice big gap like that. I believe that was freshman Charlie Hicks. Solid bike racer on the road and seems to be transitioning well to the little 500 bike.
I've heard from multiple riders that on the backstretch, the track is low, and if you can rub up against the gutter, it could be a potentially really dangerous place. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
over there,
absolutely.
Ryan?
There's the concrete gutter on the inside of the track for drainage purposes, and with all the rain we got yesterday, I think some of the cinders kind of got moved around a little bit. The track morphed a little, and so as a result, we have this lip between the edge of the track and the concrete gutter, and potentially, you have to adjust over there. You move a little too far left and you rub your wheel on the edge of that gutter, you're going to cause a pileup. So it's definitely something to pay attention to. And you, as we've seen in sprints in the past, you can do some positioning right on the edge of that gutter. That may not be an option today with that big lip on it.
Nap, let's talk swag, all right?
Swag.
I'm looking at Colin Brunk of Phi Delta Theta, a senior riding in his first little 5, riding a great race so far. They're in the pink. They've got the white shoes with the pink laces and the white and pink gloves. Who do you think has the most swag out here today?
It'd be tough to vote against Phi Delta. They've clearly accessorized well with their white bar tape and their pearly white shoes. They get my vote at this point for sure. People quickly forget about what you are wearing, though, if you win the bike race. So you can be wearing pretty much whatever you want. And if you drop everybody on the last lap, people will let it slide.
Absolutely. Right cycling. Evan Zare on the front right now. Riding great as Colin Brunk of Phi Delta Theta pulls through. Riding with great confidence. Ooh, this guy... a rider just split a Forest and Phi Delta, went right through the middle of them. That's usually uncommon. You're usually going to see people burn on the outside. That was a risky move.
See, this type of gap you see here from that rider that just split the uprights, that's kind of what happens when you're maybe flying under the radar as a team. You know, people don't necessarily immediately react to your burnouts quite like they may another top team. And so, yeah, the field didn't really flinch at that point. They're just kind of sitting there looking around, not really concerned with that gap.
Big boy Krahulik on the front. He's tired of pulling. He's saying, pull through, guys. They're not going very fast right now.
If I were him, I would be, definitely finding a draft for a little bit. After that big set earlier, trying to lap the field, he's probably still feeling those effects. So, yeah, might be a good idea to get out of the wind for a minute.
Ryan, a team we have not talked about yet, who went through the lead on the last lap in 120, Fiji. Fiji has, I believe, 5, maybe 6 wins. They are a historic team. They almost always have a good team. Last year, they graduated 3 riders. They're bringing in 3 rookies, I believe, and they're on the lead lap. They're mixing it up with the big boys. They are riding a great race so far.
Yeah, very impressive, actually. They've also, not really been talked about yet, but yeah, that. Anytime you graduate that many riders, it's a tough situation for the house and for the bike team. But this is, regardless of the outcome today, going to be a good experience growing for those riders. Just, having to shoulder the responsibility as rookies and, keep your team in the race. Even if they don't pull off the victory, I think they'll come out the other side of today's race with a lot more experience and be able to kind of build on that for the next few years and get that program back to the normal level where they're a championship contender.
Good for Fiji. There are rumors that Acacia's coming back on campus next year, and living legend Tom Swagler might be coaching them. So who knows? We might get the historic big boys back in full swing next year.
Yeah, there are a few of those guys not currently in the bike race. ATO, FISI, a few of those top teams that, are normally mainstays at the front of this bike race that are unfortunately taking a year off. So, yeah, it'd be nice to have Acacia back as well.
Ryan, the race right now is very slow. They are going 41, 42-second laps. Well, what's going on right now?
Well, you just saw earlier in the first half of the race, you saw a lot of aggression, and aggression is not free. You definitely expend some energy racing that hard, and so right now I think everybody's collectively just like, man, that hurt. I'd really love to take some laps off because, lap 199 is coming, and they want to recover a little bit. So unfortunately for the viewer, these are a little bit less eventful laps, but that's all right. These bike racers are humans. They do need to recover occasionally, so it's not that uncommon to see people test the waters early in the race, see who's fit, see who's not, and then kind of regroup in the middle and start thinking about strategy for the end of the bike race.
A great exchange by Colin Brunk of Phi Delta Theta. All right, Ryan, we're getting near. We're in the second half of the race. Who are you liking right now? Who is racing well? Who do you think is going to be there at the end?
Well, BKB has looked solid. Cutters have looked really solid all day. Phi Delta looks great. Lots of impressive teams so far. Beta, they obviously had no problem dealing with their poor starting position today. They just hopped right up to the front and have been a presence there ever since. So those are kind of the guys that I've got my eye
almost
on.
a wreck right there. Almost a wreck. Cutters are exchanging very close to the gutter. They are not taking any chances, and they almost collided with the pack there. You can be penalized. If you impede, you stop someone's progress, or you wreck someone out, you could get a penalty. I believe no penalties have been assessed so far in this race, however.
Yeah, we've got BKB coming in for an exchange here. Black Key Bulls with another nice gap. And that's something you'll see more often, too, here in the slower laps. People, as they want to take these little, laps off and recover a bit, they're less likely to be so aggressive chasing burns. So, yeah, that's kind of nice across the board, being able to recover your legs a little bit.
A great lap by Spencer Brockala, brings it in with a gap. SAE exchange at the same time. These guys are pro. They know what they're doing.
Yep, there's Wright taking over the pacemaking for the front, looking pretty composed, just hanging out, eating a few laps. No real agenda, just nice short pull. Pulls off, looking to get back in at the front of the bike race and just kind of, look for an opportunity to do something. But, yeah, right now, a lot of people just hanging out.
I am still very impressed by some of these teams, particularly 3PH Cycling. Kappa Sigma Cycling, Grey Goat. These are teams we didn't talk about at the beginning who are sticking in here, and they're riding a good race. Good for them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's cool to see these guys getting up there and being a factor. And those are the type of teams that if they do fly under the radar late in the race and they haven't been, dealt with or gotten rid of by the other top teams, you turn around and you see, who is that? Oh, that's 3PH taking a flyer. So that's a situation where late in the bike race, if they've just hung around, they do make a big move and can potentially challenge.
I just saw Will Craigie, the 2013 men's Little 500 champion, run the bike out to Beta Theta Pi. Talk about alumni support. How important is alumni support to these riders?
Oh, it's huge because, every year you're getting, to some degree, a new crop of riders. Yeah, every once in a while your 4 riders stick around, but it's the responsibility of, the house or the team or your support system to kind of keep that momentum going because you can't let it fall flat year after year and try to rebuild it. And so when you have a team like Beta or a team like the Cutters or any one of these top teams, Fidel, BKB, these teams that are at the front of the race year after year, there's a lot more than just the 4 riders that go into this. Alumni support, other outside supporters that just kind of hold everybody accountable and make sure, hey, you guys are training hard enough to respect the name that the team has built.
The pack is crawling right now. They're doing 42-second laps. That is very, very slow.
Yeah, this is, like I said, not that uncommon. However, yeah, you're kind of waiting for people to do something. It's kind of like, okay, everybody kind of arm wrestled for the first 100 laps, and nobody could beat anybody else. You're like, a lot of grunting, a lot of trying hard, but nothing really happened. And so they're all kind of looking at each other like, well, we already tried that, so that didn't work. So now we've got to think a little bit. And so now everybody's doing less grunting and more thinking, just kind of figuring out their strategy for later.
Knapp and I arm wrestled earlier. I won.
Yeah, it didn't go well for me.
About 24 miles per hour. Pace quickens a bit. Delta Tall Delta, Team 10 is ranked second. Third is Team 21. Black Kappa Sigma.
All right, right here. So Wright's pitting on the backstretch, so you'll notice he just took a flyer. This isn't going to be, I assume he's got to be taking the bike in. Yeah, you see their mechanic getting the bike ready, but this is kind of, you see the field not responding that much. Wright's doing a full lap burn, getting a nice gap. We got a Delta rider chasing the Wright rider. They're also pitting on the backstretch, so they're kind of on the same schedule for burnouts. Yeah, this Delta rider is coming up quick, actually. It's a good burn for him, and the Wright rider seems to be kind of losing a little bit of steam. But either way, they're both going to get nice big gaps, and it should be easy for their teammate to get in there.
This is a textbook Delta Tau Delta race. They are in the same pit as they won in 2012. They have the same jerseys. This race is going exactly as planned for Delta Tau Delta.
Can they do it, though, without R.J. Stewart? R.J. Stewart was a key member of that 2012 team. R.J. Stewart lived like a monk that year. He was sleeping in an altitude tent, just eating protein like it was his job, doing bench press. He was a machine that spring, and without him, you wonder who they're going to look to fill those shoes. He was a beast, and they definitely have some big shoes to fill without RJ around.
It'll be interesting to see how they finish the race. My guess is Anthony Vicino, a junior. He has race experience. He's well respected. He's got great pop and top end speed. Look to him to finish the race for Delts.
Guys, I'm just thinking here a little bit. With this field being as big as it is, if we don't start seeing some aggressive riding, it takes a little while, as we saw earlier, to kind of start creating separation. So nobody wants to see a 15 or so team sprint. That would just be pure insanity. So it's going to be in a lot of teams' best interest to start pushing the pace here and trimming this group down a little bit, because a field sprint of this size would just be,
oh my gosh, scary.
Terror.
I'm glad we're up here.
Yeah, bike parts could fly up here on top of the press box and hit us. It is not an ideal situation. So at some point, teams are going to recognize that. Not that they don't currently recognize that, but people are going to start addressing that in the next handful of laps.
Ryan, we're doing a good job, man. Do you think they're going to ask us back next year?
Yeah, I would expect the contract to be in the mail.
I didn't sign a contract, man. Do you think we get a bonus or something?
Yeah, definitely.
We're killing it.
All right, yeah, you'll see it stringing out a little bit. It's getting, like we talked about earlier, the pack is not wide and short now. It's getting long and skinny. That means it's fast. We've got the typical suspects at the front pushing the pace. I think SAE's burnout kind of prompted that chase effort and what made the race fast. Just hanging out, spinning his legs. I mean, he's getting in the zone. At this point, it looks like, to some degree, it's very hard for me to imagine all this however big pack it is, 15 or so riders blowing up completely and there not being some form of sprint. I know there are quite a few laps left, but I think, there's a lot of work to do if one team is going to get away. I bet we see some sort of small group sprint today.
Oh, a rider just exchanged. They have to go around him. Teams are exchanging very close to the gutter this year.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, we still haven't seen a wreck in a really long time.
Lots of close calls, but, props to these guys for keeping it together, holding their line, and not hooking bars and causing a pileup.
We're down to 16 teams on the lead
There we go,
lap.
16.
Yeah.
Nearly half of the field is still there. And I don't know that I've ever seen a group this big. I mean, I don't know what the biggest group sprint has been at the end of Little 500, but 16 riders would be pure insanity. So we will see, we'll definitely see some aggression, and then those tired legs, we'll definitely see a smaller group come to the finish.
A storm coming. A storm is coming, Ryan. A storm is coming.
You have to wait a few more laps for that storm to get here, but yes, you're right. A storm will definitely be here in the next 50 laps.
When things get real and the big boys bring out the big punches, we'll see how many of these teams can stick.
Yeah, there's, right now, there are some people that, are sitting on their hands. They feel good, but they know now is not the right time. They're not doing anything. Even though they have the legs, they know that now is not the time because people have been recovering. The race hasn't been that fast, so everybody feels decent. And then there are other teams in there that maybe aren't sitting on their hands as much, that are just bluffing. They're trying to hide. They're really loving the fact the race is slow because they maybe just are hanging on for dear life at the back. But eventually, those two different groups will be separated. The people hanging on will get dropped and sent out the back, and the people who have been sitting on their hands, biding their time, waiting for the right moment, they're going to hit it. They're going to take control of this bike race, and we'll see some carnage.
Ryan, it's been a controversial year in Little 500. Qualifications, the weather was bad. They had to postpone part of it. A team's got some attempts back. This race was postponed, and a lot of that controversy is around one individual, Jordan Bailey, the race director of the foundation. Jordan has done a tremendous job with the foundation. He has instilled the timing system for the race. Attendance is up. Teams are up. He's done a really good job, but there's been a lot of controversy surrounding him. How do you think Jordan Bailey is handling the Little 500 this year?
Jordan has a tough job. It's, everybody always has something critical to say, but no solution to offer. And so, I think JB knows that going into this. Jordan is used to hearing and seeing #FireJB on Twitter or stuff like that. I think he just kind of deals with it and lets it go and takes it with a grain of salt. But as taking over the race, the job as race director, you're going to have plenty of people that want to spout off their mouth a little bit about what they think should happen and how poor of a job they think you're doing. But JB knows that it's when you have to put your money where your mouth is, it's a different story. If you're just hiding behind your little miniature keyboard on your iPhone tweeting, it's a lot different than JB having to call the shots for this actual event. So I don't think it's a big deal. I think he's done a good job.
He's been one of the best race directors to ever run this race, and it is obvious by today. The stands are full. The sun is shining. We have a great, safe race. Great job, Jordan Bailey.
Yep. All right. Looks like we've got back to racing action a little bit here. Enough about Jordan Bailey.
#FireJB.
We've got Fidel, huge burn here, looking like $1 million. Chris West giving the Fidel rider in the pit a few last-minute instructions. And yeah, not a lot of response here from the field. Another nice gap. Is this Romanesco bring it in? Looks like it.
Romanesco bring it into Joe Hanauer, a bike-to-bike. Joe had trouble exchanging earlier in the year, so they want to use 2 bikes. And he has trouble,
slip,
and he
little
goes down the
slip.
top tube. But Romanesco gave him such a big gap, it does not matter. And he's still at the front of the group.
That's good. You look down into Feidel's pit, and you see Rob Lee going down there to talk to Romo and congratulate him on an awesome set.
The Feidel pit is going crazy right now.
Morale is high in the Feidel pit.
Their fans, the Feidel fans are about the most knowledgeable fans you'll find in the Greek community. They really support the bike team. They have a great tradition there and a great program, and that's a testament to how they're racing today, and they're doing an excellent, excellent job.
Yeah, you'll see the Feidel rider, I believe it's Joe Hanauer, sent, after his little brush with the top tube and his slipping off the pedals. The nice part about that is, that's a little mistake, but it didn't cost him at all. He still actually had to wait for the pack because of the big burnout he got from his teammates. So that's a nice situation to be in when you can even have a little slip up and you're still waiting for the field. So nice job by Romo there with a huge burn.
An exchange of its own. An exchange for Phi Kappa Sigma.
Sig App has had a really, really good day. They were down a half lap. They made it up. They helped bring back the SAE break, and they're riding on the front, and they're riding strong. I really like what Sig App is doing. Charlie Hammond with a big move on the outside out of 1. He's getting marked by Cutters, and it's those 2.
I like this move because, even if he is just bringing it in for a burn, it's a nice, long, full lap effort. Look at that
he
gap,
is
though.
flying, and the Cutters can't
hold the wheel.
He's trying to gap, but the Cutters have a big gap too. Both of these guys are be in a great position to put their next guy on. I'm going to get a lap time on this. Charlie is flying.
This is the type of situation you might see towards the end of the bike race that leads to teams getting a gap up, a little congestion there. Good save. Everybody hold their line. Okay, That was more congestion in that area. The pits, they've had some trouble today.
Some of BKB's exchanges have looked a little sloppy.
Yeah, a little wobbly.
If you have sloppy exchanges in the last 20 laps of the race, 1 bad exchange, 1 bike drop, your day is done.
Yeah, but seconds are so valuable late in the race that you can't afford to be giving up seconds on exchanges. So it's interesting though. You got BKB here straight back to the front of the bike race, fresh legs. Not just sitting in recovering. They're going to decide to push the pace. That's Nick Hartman there, getting that gear up to speed and rolling it a little bit. Fight out there as well. Beta going off.
We're seeing Delta Taw Delta pretty far back in the pack. Sometimes their strategy, they like to sit in, and it has worked out for them very well in the past. But sometimes if you get too far back, you're at a very high risk of crashing.
Yep, we've got Beta bringing the bike in here for a bike-to-bike exchange, leaving BKB off the front, actually. You wonder what they'll do with this gap. Is he going to push the pace, or is he just going to sit up and wait for a different time? Is the timing right for what they're looking to do?
Nick Hartman on the front with a gap, and he looks over at the pit to Coach Valentin Totoro, and I think I saw Val texting. Nick, he looks content to just tempo on the front. He's not looking back. He's going to say, come meet me, guys. Come up here and ride with me. And you see Feidel with a big move to bring it back. Not a big story here. Just bringing the bike back.
Guys, the thing that is kind of not surprising, I guess, but that is striking me at this point about this bike race is just a lot of quality. I feel like we sound like a broken record here, but lots and lots of teams doing great burns, big gaps, nice exchanges in general. You can really see the depth of the field coming through because everybody knows what they're doing. I mean, even the teams that we're calling newcomers to the front of this bike race, teams like Wright, they've ridden a great race, big gaps, smooth exchanges. Very impressive from everybody so far.
So the real race starts at about lap 150, Ryan. There's lots of teams who are going to start playing their cards. I think a lot of times it's not going to be the team that goes first, but the team that counters, that
absolutely
makes the winning move. So you never know, a team, maybe Wright goes first, and then the counter move could get it. Or maybe Wright gets away, or who knows how it's going to be played out.
Yep, we've got Delta bringing in a bike-to-bike exchange. When I was down their pit earlier, I did notice that each rider on the Delt's bike team has their own setup. They have their own 4 different seats and seat posts that they're switching out for each rider doing bike-to-bikes. You know, I'm not exactly sure their strategy behind that, but I know it's lower stress on them. They like that idea. If you can just do bike to bikes every time, so that's kind of a luxury.
Delts is well known for their fancy bike room. They train really hard in there. They do a ton of hours, a ton of volume, a great program, and they're having an awesome race. Hashtag blessed. Cutters just went down. Cutters are about a fourth to a third of the lap down.
This is not a huge gap. I didn't see how the crash happened, but looks like we've got a new Cutters rider waiting in the pits.
And the field is responding.
Yep, the field's going to push the pace.
BKB's pit and Fidel pits, they're telling the riders to push the pace. The Cutters are very, very good. It's about a half lap. Brian DePass gets on the bike. Brian DePass is a very good rider. He has a lot of work cut out for him.
So we'll see here what type of cooperation. Obviously, the Cutters are a threat, so everybody's looking for an opportunity to get rid of them. They have the ITT champion on their team, so you know this is a perfect opportunity that could kick off that aggressive bike racing we've talked about. Cutters are about a half to a third of the lap down, and looks like not amazing communication at the front of the field.
You gotta, when a team like the Cutters, they are always a threat. And Beta
is
down too.
with the Cutters, so that's actually a blessing for both of those teams, having each other there to work together. They're going to do a two-man time trial, communicate well, stay out there, do a set together, and try to close this gap. But definitely great situation. If you have to crash, you'd love to have another team down with you.
I would expect the field to respond immediately. They're going 40 seconds at the front right now.
Yeah.
When teams like Beta and Cutters go down, you need to put them out of the race.
Yeah, I think this is looking, I mean, right now you can see the field is not as strung out as it needs to be if they're looking to stick this and get rid of Beta.
They've made up a lot of ground already.
Yeah, they're coming back for sure. This group working together, Beta and Cutters. You need to see. I mean, we have the rest of the top teams. If I'm Delts or if I'm Fidel, I'm hitting the front right now. Fidel's just kind of hanging out, which you know, every team has their own strategy. BKB's not on the front either. If I'm holding a whiteboard and I'm coaching a team, I'm saying, hey, hit the front. Let's do this. Let's get rid of some of these teams.
Beta and Cutters started off with a 18-second deficit, and they've already cut it down to 12 seconds. They are moving.
Yeah, it's just you can tell when you look at the front of the field, it's just not the cooperation you need to put teams away, especially if you have two top teams working well together. It's just, you can tell, not quite the communication necessary. You know, there'll be some surges here and there. The pace will pick up, but it's definitely not enough to put these guys away, I don't think.
They're doing a good job bringing the bikes back. I think it's 3 PHs on the front right now. Some of the big teams like Blackie Bulls, SAE, Phi Delta Theta, they've been buried in the back. They have not been hammering the pace on the front.
I think the thing we're seeing here that with Cutters opting to put Brian DePass on the bike for this chase set as opposed to Nick Theory, I think that is pointing to who they'll probably sprint, assuming they get back in.
Brian's losing his wheel. Beta is putting in a very big effort right now, and I think the Cutter rider is having a little trouble. It might be time to exchange.
Yep, Fidel, I would imagine they'll be coming in here. It looks like Nick Theory is waiting for the bike. Fidel also bring it in. I bet this really slows down the front of the race, though, and I would imagine Nick Theory. Okay, Beta's bring it in and Cutters, so that's good.
They're exchanging together.
They'll be on the same exchange schedule, so hopefully they can get back together and work well. But yeah, Nick Theory, ITT champ, getting on the bike, see if he can close this gap down. There goes Beta right past him to his left. Yeah, they'll get back together. And that's no small feat. What we're seeing there is staying on the same schedule and continuing to work together with exchanges factored in there. That's difficult.
Beta is not waiting around for Cutters. They have two riders riding 20 feet apart. You can't really slow up, but I would expect them to work together, but they're working individually to bring it back.
Yep, so it's a little more than a straightaway now, that gap. Is this Chris Craig on the bike?
That's Chris
Beta?
Craig. So this is 1-2 at ITTs.
Yeah, those two guys together, that's a lot of horsepower. If they can get together, I have a pretty good feeling they'll get back on the back of that pack.
You have to burn some matches, though. These are two guys who could finish the race.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the type of thing you think about when say it comes down to a sprint of 5 or 10 teams. Well, 2 of them just did two of those individuals that could potentially be in that sprint just did a big chase set. So we'll see if that shows up in their legs.
I think they're going to bring it back, but they're not making a ton of. Chris Craig is waiting for Nick Theory.
I'm honestly a little surprised here that Nick Theory hasn't been able to get on the wheel of Chris Craig, you know? Maybe he's not having the best day legs-wise. Chris Craig has just kind of held him at 10 bike lengths this whole set.
Right, they've been kind of awkwardly 20 feet apart, and if they would have been able to link up, they probably would have the gap back.
It's down to a quarter lap at this point, so I think they will get there, but yeah, definitely not the most efficient closing of that final bits of that gap.
Right. I think Nick Theory is trying to channel his inner Clayton Feldman and just wait. Nice, steady effort.
Yeah, he is. Nick is a diesel. Nick is not he's not going to go sprint across a gap. He's composed. His personality type lends itself to that. He's just kind of, doing his own thing, knowing he'll get there. He has a lot of confidence in himself, so he's going to close that gap.
Yep, Beta has made contact. Cutter's about 10 feet away. Good job by them by bringing those bikes back.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with how these teams have dealt with adversity today. With SIGEP dealing with it early, and now Cutters and Beta getting back in there. And the thing is, at this point, yes, they just crashed, and yes, they just chased and burnt some matches, but they're going to get a morale boost out of this because they went from thinking they could potentially be down and out at the end of this bike race, and now they're feeling good about things again. They're back. Maybe they don't feel their legs as much because they're so pumped up about the fact they've got new life. So, this could go a lot of different ways.
Here's the exchange for Black Key Bulls.
Through 160 laps, Beta and Cutter went down. They were over a half lap down, but they worked together and they're able to close that gap. How is that going to affect them later in the race, Ryan?
There will be some tired legs, but once again, everybody's legs are going to be tired, I think. This is 200 laps of pushing the pace. And so I'm sure it hurt them, but these guys are fit. It's not, they have more than 10 hard laps in their legs. So I think they're going to be fine, but it could potentially impact the, which rider they choose for the end.
All right, we're getting towards the end of the race, and we expect some teams to really start making big moves around lap 180.
Yep, the last 20 laps, I think fireworks will be going off pretty frequently. That's when the aggressive riding will start because, you can start hitting it on the front, being aggressive, and you don't have to hold it for 130 laps like, earlier. So I think, we're about to see a lot of all this aggression, all this biding time is going to happen. The biding time is coming to an end and the aggression is about to start. It's the end of the bike race is here.
We're close to crowning a new victor.
The orange color of the Cutters.
All right, we're back to racing here. The pack has all come back together. I see Black Key Bulls and Delta Tau Delta, Phi Delta Theta, SAE at the front. They're picking up the pace a little bit. Phi Delta's making a big move on the outside. Great positioning on his bike. Look at that flat back. He's turning it over. A great spin.
Yep, looking good, looking fit, looking fast. Nice gaps here. I'm not sure who jumped on that burn there. That looks like SAE jumped on the Phi Delta burn with pretty, relative ease. And now followed that gap. Looks like he's followed that burn and gives himself a nice little gap. You wonder if he'll do a +1 or if he's just going to take off and see if he can draw out some other teams.
Yeah, SAE has proven that they will ride an aggressive race. Maybe they're making a big move again, or maybe they just want to get a big gap.
Yep, looks like BKB and SIGEP are taking up the chase. BKB swings off, flicks the elbow, looks over to SIGEP and says, hey, all right, that's my pull. Your turn. BKB slotting back in at the front. And this SIGEP.
Here we go, right cycling. RJ Thomas making a big move. Delts is covering it. Delts is very, very savvy. That looks like Luke Momper on the bike.
Momper looks like, if that's Luke, looks like he's spinning really well. Looks like he must be feeling pretty decent. That looks pretty easy.
Momper riding in his 4th and final race.
Yep, let's see, we have 35 laps to go. You know, this is definitely the start of the window where you'll start seeing people looking to play their card. You know, you have to get out there and, you know, because definitely not all of these teams are just comfortable with the field sprint. So it's time to start, you know, whittling this group down and getting it, you know, more favorable conditions for your team. So we'll start seeing whatever those cards that they have to play might be. Those are coming out soon.
I see Chris Craig and I see Rob Lee on the bike. Those are 2 of the best sprinters in the field. This might be their last set before they get on the bike for the very last sprint.
Yep. You know, and as we've seen before in some of these group sprints, contact, shoulder banging, bar banging, stuff like that is not uncommon. And if we have a big group, it's going to be a nightmare for positioning. So people are going to have to be assertive and push each other around, and we'll just see. But I think it's going to be an aggressive sprint because we have big guys like Rob Lee that are going to, you know, have no problem moving people out of his way if he wants to go somewhere.
Phi Delta Theta, they are sick of being on the podium, not in the top spot.
Yep.
Today might be their day.
They are not interested in any other trophies other than that Borg Warner. So I don't think Rob Lee is going to make room for anybody out there if it comes down to a sprint. Chris Craig, you know, he showed last year he can definitely be at the front, but you know, we'll see what he has if he learned anything from last year's development.
Big crash!
Oh,
Big
huge
crash! Lots of teams are down. Lots of teams are down. SAE is down.
Right cycling on the ground.
Oh my gosh!
Right. We've got one guy definitely down, writhing in pain, not looking good.
Lots of teams.
We've got some broken bikes that aren't functioning. Right cycling is up.
Someone's down. Big time. Oh, this is bad for right cycling. Yep. It's a big gap. It's a half lap. We're under yellow.
Yep.
Riders cannot advance their position. You must hold your position.
They've actually gotten the situation in the 4th corner taken care of very quickly. They've gotten the injured rider moved to the infield before the group even got back around after less than 1 lap at yellow. So that was pretty impressive. That's just the 2nd yellow of the day as they see the yellow flag here at the start-finish line.
Delta Tall Delta is safe. Phi Delta is safe. BKB is safe. Beta, Cutters.
Rob Lee sitting on the front. Looks like he's kind of directing the show, talking to people, taking stock of who's there, who's not there, who could have potentially fallen out of contention as a result of that crash. Yeah, this is nice for some of these teams if they needed a break here. They get a couple laps to recover, maybe extend their set a little bit. But all the contenders minus Wright look like they're still hanging out at the front of this bike race.
It looks like Sigma Nu got caught in the wreck. Sigma Nu has a lot of firepower. This might end their day.
Yep.
We see Chappie Blackwell at the start-finish line. He's our race starter. Chappie's son, CT Blackwell, was the founder of Black Key Bulls, like with you, Ryan. Unfortunately, CT a few weeks ago passed away. Can you talk about what CT meant to you as a friend?
Yeah, CT was a great guy, just like a dream teammate, a total like bro, as one might say. But yeah, just a really good dude, somebody you really enjoyed spending time with. And so yeah, these recent developments in regards to CT were pretty rough. Rocked the BKB community to say the least, but also just kind of hits you with how finite your time here on Earth can be. So it kind of instills this: you want to live every day to its fullest because you just might not be guaranteed 80 years here. So definitely a slap in the face of reality. But I think it's brought us together as a cycling community and as BKBs. And unfortunate, but luckily Little Five has been positive and really supportive. And I think it's helped Chappie Blackwell, his father, deal with it as well. So unfortunate, but the response has been very positive since.
We wish them the best. That's never easy. Black Key Bulls have dedicated the race CT today, and so far have positioned themselves very well along with other teams. We wish the best to his family. We're still under yellow. It looks like the rider who they were holding the yellow out for is being put on the stretcher, so I anticipate we're going to go to green soon.
And that rider was moving around quite a bit, obviously in quite a bit of pain. but was moving all of his extremities. Definitely did not lose consciousness or anything like that. Clearly in some pain, but definitely not as serious as it could potentially be. So that's good to see. If you can wiggle around on the ground in pain, that's actually a good sign.
So now we have 12.
And we're going green, back to green. Rob Lee hits the front, out of the saddle, picking the pace back up, followed by BKB and Sigap moving around on the outside.
This lead pack has 12 teams that are still on the lead lap. Sigma Nu is off, Wright is off, Kappa Sigma is off, NIC Cycling is off as well.
Yeah, it looks like that gap is about a half lap, maybe a hair under to Wright. And Wright right now needs to look around and find someone to work with. They're not going to close this gap by themselves. That's just not how it works. So they need to look around, look for partners to help bridge this gap, because otherwise I think their race is going to be over. So they need to, just keep their head up and look for some assistance.
A lot of the teams we talked about earlier who have the favorites. All the favorites are safe. So Wright is certainly a factor amongst those other teams, but the guys we anticipated seeing who have the best shot at winning are all safe.
Yep, we've got lots of teams coming in for exchange here. Look at this. We've got Fidel. We've got BKB. We have Beta. We have maybe Forest.
A lot of action here. A lot of action on the front stretch. 3 teams exchanging. Black Key
looks-
Bulls.
Yeah, Rob Lee couldn't get that exchange off, so they skipped it, and looks like he's going to go back out. That's very
tough.
unexpected.
Your legs do not want to do another
No,
lap.
you are planning on coming out and budgeted only that much energy for that one more lap. So Rob Lee is going to do this exchange. Looks like SAE is also exchanging. So that's good for Fidel, because they'll be able to get back in with potentially working together with SAE. But yeah, the race is blowing up right now. This group is getting small.
Cutters drilling it on the front right now.
Cutters are driving it on the front. And I believe this is Fidel's 4th. So, he's going to have his work cut out for him to weather this storm. Definitely the bike race is on.
Things are getting spread out. Is this the storm we were talking about, Ryan?
Yeah, I think so. 25 laps to go, and this is the type of effort that kind of kicks off the drama of the last part of the race. Teams, everybody's going hard, everybody's throwing it down right now, and we've got let's see, Cutters just came off the front for an exchange.
And Delts have a gap. Delts have a gap. This is just like 2012. They got a gap at lap 175, and they time trial to victory. We'll see if Delts goes in for an exchange, or they keep working this gap, making it larger.
Yep, big gap. Got the rider waiting in the pits. We'll see what they do with it.
The front pack comes back together, but Delts have exchanged. Ryan, this is scary, man. I'm nervous.
Yeah, I'm glad we're up here, because my legs don't hurt that bad standing here talking on a microphone. So
hold my hand.
This is much more pleasant.
Hold my hand, Ryan.
I will not.
You'll just cry.
All right,
cry,
Sigap coming out. All right, we got Beta, and looks like Delts are going to roll it.
This
Beta
is a big
and
move.
Delts.
This is a big move.
Delts with fresh legs.
Delts is going.
Textbook Courtney Bishop right here.
This is just like 2012. Delts, yeah, this is a decisive move. This is their big move.
All right, here it goes, guys. The bike race is happening. Delts off the front. Everybody chasing. Fi-Size dragging the Cutters.
This is a big lap.
Nice.
This is a fast lap.
Great.
He's turning it over. This is Luke Tormelin, a junior, and he's getting after it.
Beta looking over their shoulder saying, hey, somebody help me pull. And SAE says, nah, I'm not going to help you pull. Cutters pulling up to the back of those two, also not going to help pull.
Delts isn't exchanging.
This is insane.
This is a straightaway lead. He has a straightaway lead.
And this straightaway lead happened in 2 laps.
Luke Tormelin is throwing down right now.
And
he is throwing down.
Unlike earlier when we saw a big gap like this, we only have 22 laps of racing left to go. So this is much more serious than previous gaps.
It's over a quarter lap. I don't know if these teams realize the pits are freaking out.
Everybody in the pits just with their hands, their fingers out, pointing towards the front of the bike race. Hey, go forward, chase. We don't have a lot of time.
Delts has a very strong team. They are strong enough that they could hold it. There's only 20 laps left.
Guys, if Delts were to pull this off and win solo again, winning solo is hard, so difficult. And right now, they've got a nice gap and are looking strong. If they pull off 2 of these similar style wins, that would be very, very, very impressive.
Luke from Delts is throwing down 33 to 35 second laps.
That's beastly right there. All right, BKB hitting the front, followed by Beta and Sigep Cutters. Everybody's starting to work.
All right, Delts exchanges. Beta pulls through.
Fresh Delts riders still. They got that exchange out of the way and are doing, the gap is easily maintained.
I believe that's Luke Momper on the bike.
Momper is strong, he is motivated, and he is rolling it right now. Big gap and not a lot of cooperation as the Cutters bring an exchange in here, and Beta follows them like they're going to go into their pit too.
Dude, this is dangerous. This is
dangerous.
Very dangerous. Teams need to respond. Beta is going kind of a little slower on the front. No one's pulling through. They got to work together. They got to go now.
Where's Fidel? Fidel is actually
Fidel is back, but they're close. They'll make contact. They're with Cutters.
They need to get straight to the front of this bike race and do some work because this is nearing a half lap.
Luke Momper is riding very well for Delts. He just rode a 33. Luke Momper is not messing around. He's loving the FaceTime he's getting right now.
Yeah, all right, we got BKB pushing on the front here. I'm not sure who this Sigep rider is sitting second wheel, but he definitely needs to take over the pacemaking and push it here. These guys, they cannot afford to swing off and look at each other. There is no time for that. 18 laps can go by very quickly, and they need to get to business now.
Hey, Ryan, there's a lot of racing left. You're right. It's like you just said, there's 19 laps left, but that's a half lap. Luke Momper has a half lap lead,
and it is
they're
not
slowing
down. Yep.
I'm surprised that teams are not working together more right now.
Yeah, they need a sense of urgency because it takes a while to claw back a half lap. And Delts are not just going to fall apart.
BKB has been on the front for a while. No one's pulling through.
Beta's going.
This is dangerous, Ryan. This is dangerous.
Yeah, we'll see how big of a set Momper has in his legs, but this looks like, I believe this will be his 3rd lap out there. Looking strong, not showing any cracks in the armor, just rolling it. Good work. He's employing a little bit of drafting strategy. Even though these riders are lapped, he's kind of swinging to the outside, looking to get in their draft for just a minute, just a second to get a little bit of help, recover just a little bit so that he can extend his effort a little bit.
BKB brings it in without a gap, exchanging to Nick Hartman.
Hartman has to go in there and put in a monster set. He has to take charge and push the pace because this is trouble.
Delts have exchanged. I think they put Anthony Vicino on the bike. Vicino has a big engine.
All right, we have Fidel coming over the top of the chase group looking to exchange, which that's all well and good, but we need some cooperation at the front because a bunch of individual efforts from the main field is not going to erase this gap.
I mean, Ryan, I'm not sure they can bring it back.
It does not look good.
People are unorganized right now.
Although, Delts looks very strong right now, but 20 laps is still 20 laps. If your legs start to come apart, you can go backwards very fast. So we'll just see what they have in the tank.
At this point in the race, you might have to put your best rider on and tell him, do not come out until you bring the bike back.
Yeah.
Because if you exchange, you are losing time every time you exchange. You can't do 3-lap sets every time.
Yeah, you might even, if you're a coach of one of these top-tier teams, you might even be walking down and talking to your neighbors and saying, hey, we're going to put our star on, you put your star on, because we need to work together to close this gap or there will be no sprint.
Hartman on the outside, making a move to the front. Beta is keeping a good pace, but the gap is going nowhere. The gap is steady.
It is so windy. We're getting blown around up here on top of the press box, so I can only imagine what it's like down there. Those guys are definitely getting hit with some headwind.
It's lonely for Delts. It's just out them. There's no one to draft, and there's a lot of wind.
Yep, and it's very important as they're trying to stick this breakaway. It's very important that they're in touch with their legs. You know, if you stay out 1 lap too long and make your set 5 laps instead of 4 laps, you can lose a lot of time in that extra lap if you're falling apart.
The gap is at 14 seconds, Ryan.
14 is big, but it can be brought back.
14 seconds, there's 14 laps left. Oh, this is a good race.
This is great. This is what we were hoping for. This is what we wanted to see at the end of the bike race. But yeah, they've got their work cut out for sure. They just have to cooperate, work together in the main field.
It looks like 3PH, Black Key Bulls, Cutters, Beta, SAE.
Yep, that lead group is much smaller. Rob Lee just got the bike. A little bit of a rocky exchange, but got it done.
That's surprising. If Rob Lee is on the bike now,
he's done. This is it. He will be in there for the rest of the bike race.
This is going to be tough. That's 13 laps, 12 laps. That's a lot for him to finish. I doubt that they did not want to put him on this early in the race.
But this is just what you were talking about. Put your star on and let him go to work. Yeah. Rob needs to catch that chase group and just start turning fast laps.
Okay, Black Key Bulls doing exchange. No gap. Nick Hartman to Tyler Hart, a bike to bike. Cutters are going. Cutters are driving the pace.
Yeah, all right. Looks like there's a little bit of action in the Cutters pit. Looks like Nick Theory has a bike waiting.
A bad bike to bike for Delts.
Okay.
Very slow.
The gap is a straightaway now, although this Delts rider obviously has fresh legs, so we'll see if he can drag it back out to where they liked it.
Cutters are doing a big lap right now, but they're exchanging. I like how Gap is positioned right now. They're at the back of the pack. They're not working. They're resting.
Cutters coming in.
Yeah, Cutters are exchanging. SAE's exchanging.
We are going to get a fresh batch of riders on the bike here, and we'll see if these guys can take control. But if not, we only have 10 laps remaining.
The gap is down. The last lap was 8 seconds.
Fidel has still not caught the pack. Rob Lee's got a rough set for him here.
Rob Lee, he's taking his time. He's not panicking. He's a veteran. He knows what he's doing. But at the same time, you got to close the gap. This looks like Delt's fourth rider, Max, on the bike right now. He's doing a good job. He's got his head down. He's driving the pace, and he's holding the gap. But the gap's coming down each lap.
Yeah, only 9 laps remaining, 8 laps remaining. Definitely that chase group is small. Cutters are just rejoining it. Fidel has not rejoined. They could definitely use that firepower from Fidel.
It's a dangerous game, Ryan. You want to pull it back, but you don't want to do all the work
Big
yourself.
turn from BKB. Big turn here. Really, you can tell he picked up the pace a lot.
That's Tyler Hart on the bike right now with a big set.
The gap has definitely decreased this lap. Did Delts exchange or no?
Delts, they still, I'm not sure if they've exchanged, but the gap is down to about 10 seconds.
10 seconds and 8 laps. Let's see if they can hang on to it. And if they start playing too much, poker in the back, saying I'm not gonna chase. Well, you chase. There's no time for that.
Rob Lee just exchanged. I don't know if something's up with him. They might have had a bike issue, but Fidel has a pretty big deficit. It's going to be tough for them to get back.
Okay, this Delts rider is clearly giving it his all, going nuts out there, maintaining the gap pretty well. So we got Nick Theory on the bike. We'll see if he can ratchet up the pace enough to get, drag these guys back, because they don't have time to waste at this point. It is all or nothing.
When you're the winner of ITTs, this is when you got to do your work.
Yep.
No one is better equipped to bring this back than Nick Theory right now.
Prove your worth, Nick Theory. We think you can do it. Let's see it.
He's riding great right now.
Beta rolling up to the front. BKB also taking over the front. This is good. They're pushing it.
Tyler Hart from BKB driving. Oh, Delts is hurting.
Yep.
Delts is hurting very bad.
This Delts rider may have stayed out 1 lap too long.
They got to get him off the bike.
BKB putting a fresh rider on. Nick Theory doing a really strong turn. Followed. Beta's coming underneath to take a pull. This gap has definitely come down a lot. This exchange may just see their gap go away.
Time to bring the bike back, Beta.
Yep. All right, let's see here. We got BKB chasing. Yep, okay.
It's all back together. It's
almost all back together. Here we go. We did see this in 2012. Fresh legs, though, can ride straight off the front of it.
He's got to keep the gap. He's got to keep the gap. And he's driving. He knows it.
Is this Momper? Is it Luke?
It's this looks like Luke Momper on the bike.
Luke is keeping it going, keeping
He's
the pressure on.
Very smart.
BKB is chasing. If BKB can get on the back of Nick Theory, they could use him to slingshot up to Luke Momper.
I love what Sig Ep is doing.
Yep.
Sig Ep is just riding Nick Theory's wheel, doing no work.
Yep, Torrance, that's Nick Torrance sitting on Nick Theory's wheel. It looks like Beta is about to make contact.
Beta's making contact.
So if they make contact, we could see everybody sit up and a huge group come back together.
It's the big boys all together.
So you just wonder how much everybody has spent in this chase effort. So Beta sitting on, I would imagine Beta will take a second to recover. Nick Theory recovering.
Sig Ep is very fresh right now.
All right, so, we don't quite have these two groups together. Look, Nick Torrance just jumps around Nick Theory as he starts to falter for just a second.
Nick Torrance looks very good right now.
Here we go.
And he goes to the front.
So we've got Torrance, Nick Theory.
Chris Craig, Nick Theory, Spencer Brockla.
This group is about 5 strong right now. Basically prepared to sprint it out. This is the type of drama we were talking about.
Delts have to be hurting right now after those big efforts.
They kind of went all in with that. Luke Momper did a couple sets in that attack, and I'm sure his legs are feeling it.
They're crawling now. They're letting
SAE is catching back on.
The pace is slow because they did so much work. They're letting teams get back on. SAE just made contact, like you mentioned.
This is major. Basically everybody wants to take a second and get it back together, but they don't really have time. The end of the bike race is pretty much here. So let's see. We've got Nick Theory kind of upping the pace a little bit. Beta responds pretty easily. We got BKB right there on the inside.
This is very similar to 2014.
This is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plus group sprint. This SAE putting a fresh rider on. That could be crucial. Fresh rider with only 2 laps to go. That might just be what SAE needs, a fresh set of legs.
Ryan, positioning right now is key.
Chris Craig has it. Chris Craig is taking over the front because he feels like he can defend that spot. Nick Torrance is pushing him a little.
Spencer Brockla on the outside. Nick Torrance on the outside.
You gotta move here. If you're
Nick Theory is boxed in.
Yep. We're gonna see some bumping.
There could be a wreck.
Let's see. Can Nick Torrance beat
Nick
Torrance beat him to the first corner?
Oh my God.
All right, let's see it.
Chris Craig is driving. Nick Torrance, Spencer Brockla, Luke Momper.
Here it goes, coming out of the back stretch.
Theory
Can somebody come around?
Come on,
Torrance. Nick Torrance is coming up on him. Can he get around?
Spencer Brockla's going. Spencer Brockla.
Is he gonna have
Spencer
time?
Brockla.
Oh,
Nick Torrance.
Torrance has it inside. Can he hang on? How many matches did he burn?
Craig is boxed in. Nick
Torrance.
Spencer Brockla.
Brockla.
Spencer Brockla.
Bike throw. Oh, it's
Sigma.
Torrance.
Sig
It's Torrance. Oh, wow.
I think it was Sig Ep.
I think it was too. Looked like Torrance got it.
Oh my gosh.
That is insane.
Sigma Phi Epsilon is your
Nick
2015
Torrance,
champion.
That is an unbelievable bike race from Sig Ep. They were a half lap down, burnt so many matches to get back, and still won that sprint. Nick Torrance, what a machine. He played that sprint perfectly. Very, 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 very impressive. That was an amazing finish. They deserve that, absolutely. Sig Ep, hats off. That was unbelievable.
Good for them.
That was a half of a wheel, maybe. That was very close at the start-finish line.
Nick Torrance, a 4-year rider. He's a senior.
I think we can say this now because Nick Torrance just won the sprint. I think he kind of has underperformed quite a few times. He's a very fit rider, strong bike racer, but hasn't really done as much as maybe people would have thought with his skills. But everyone will forget about that now because he just won that group sprint.
Sigma Phi Epsilon is your 2015 men's Little 500 champion. They just won. I believe their team is a senior, a freshman, and 2 sophomores. What a race.
Yeah, that was an unbelievable race from those guys. It is, I honestly, it's a testament to their fitness because those guys just, they had a huge gap to, claw back early in the race. And it's not very often that you can crash, go a half lap down, ride your sprinter, to help close that gap and then have him win the sprint in the end. Unbelievable.
If you saw, Nick Theory didn't have the juice at the end.
Nope.
He did so much work bringing that back while Torrance was just sitting on his wheel. Savvy, smart racing by Sigma Phi Epsilon. They are deserving champions.
I think when people rewatch this bike race, they will see how, what a masterpiece those last sets were from Nick Torrance. Nick Torrance just kind of sat in and kind of used other riders to close that gap for him, and as a result, he was the only one left with the legs to do it at the end. Everybody else had to chase too hard.
Wow. And look at the crowd. The house is loving it. Look at exciting. Nick Torrance is going to be king of campus.
Nick, I know you just did the sprint. You're exhausted. Senior year, how are you feeling right now?
I feel pretty tired, but I'm excited. This is not real life right now. I don't even know what I feel. I look like an idiot on TV, but
hey, yeah, we'll send it over to you.
This was a really competitive field today. It was an open race. There were a lot of favorites. It was a tough race, few wrecks, but we were right there at the end. Nick did a 15-lap hard set at the end, killed the sprint. It's all on Nick. He's our senior. He's our captain this year. This race is all him.
That's awesome. So you guys are all returning. I mean, this is great. Who's the rookie here? I know we have one. Rookie year. You're both rookies. How was your first race, winning your first race? Tell me more about it.
Wasn't quite what I expected, crashing at the beginning, but we pulled it back together. These guys helped us out, and it was really a team effort with him capping off the win.
We stayed safe, raced smart, and we left it to Nick to hold wheels at the end and have a nice sprint.
Awesome. Congratulations, you guys. Nick, what's going through your head right now?
I just feels like a dream. It feels like a dream. I thought we were done. We wrecked it like lap 30. I thought we were done. I thought we used too much energy, but a lot of teams went down late. That helped us a lot. The pace was hot. I think that helped us a lot too. I don't know. We got it.
Hey, you really did. Congratulations.
The men's 2015 Little 500 has concluded, and Sigma Phi Epsilon is your champion. An incredible sprint finish by Nick Torrance. Truly deserving champions, a savvy, smart racer. What did you think of that last finish, Ryan?
That was honestly, in recent year, that's one of the best finishes I can remember. You saw Delta Ta Delta with the, going long and going from almost 20 laps out and playing that card, which if you don't have confidence necessarily in your sprinter, that's the move you got to make. And so props to Delts for throwing down that attack. And then once it all came back together, that was a wild sprint finish. Very difficult to play, and Nick Torrance nailed it.
Chris Craig let it out. Chris Craig was very keen on having the inside line, but he had to do a lot of work earlier in the race, and he kind of ran out of gas. Nick Theory as well tried to close the gap, and for the first time, only second time, Cutters have gone 4 years without a win, but all in all, they rode a great race, something they can be really proud of.
Yeah, the Cutters were in a tough spot there late in the race because they weren't really making up the ground they needed to on that move at the front of the bike race, so they had to chase. And their best asset for chasing is Nick Theory, and they put him on, and he closed the gap. He did what he had to, but unfortunately just didn't quite have it left in his legs for the sprint. Impressive effort, but unfortunately just not quite enough left in the tank for to mix it up in that final sprint.
This was a pretty safe race, too. I think there were 2 yellow flags, and I was worried about a crash at the end of the race, but the riders held their lines, and it was a very safe race. At the very end, the returning champions, Black Key Bulls, finished second place. Ride a great race. Spencer Brockla almost got Nick Torrance at the line with a .02 difference. He almost got the win, but Nick Torrance, very savvy, and he deserves it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, phenomenal sprint finish, clean racing all day, quality from all the top teams. Nobody, just, clean racing. Nobody elbowing anybody, no wrecks, none of that. Just, people letting their legs do the talking as you would want on a day like today. So very impressive bike racing from that group at the end. And as we discussed, definitely not that group of 16 that we saw with 40 laps to go. It ended up being 5 or so.
Right, so in the top 5, Sig Ep is your champion. Black Key Bulls finished second. Beta with a great race finishes third. SAE with a huge move in the middle came kind of close to lapping the field. And a big surprise in an unofficial 5th place Forest Cycling. We didn't talk about a lot. We didn't talk about them today quite a bit, but they get better and better each year, and they rode a great race, and a top 5 finish is something you can be really proud of.
Absolutely, and to revisit the SIGEP victory, when I went down before the race and talked to their coach, he basically outlined that same scenario, you know, saying Nick Torrence has the legs and is a very savvy bike racer, and they felt comfortable turning over the responsibility of managing the end of a bike race and just kind of letting him do it. Because Nick wasn't maybe somebody who felt comfortable leading out the sprint and with that responsibility. So they said, Nick Torrence knows how to race his bicycle. We're going to let him race his bicycle. And he played it perfectly. Managed the whole chase set, managed the sprint. Impressive riding with BKB nipping at his heels.
At Bill Armstrong Stadium, this is the 2015 Men's Little 500, and Sigma Phi Epsilon is your champion.